בשם השם נעשה ונצליח. שיעור תורה, ברוכים הבאים. We're back at our weekly Stump the Rabbi shiur, where after a little bit of divrei Torah, you guys ask questions and Bezrat Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us the answers. Today shiur will be for a refuah shlema for Rabbanit Sarah Bat Anat, Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Levana Bat Sarah, Orit Bat Ilana, Michal Bat Yael, Talia Bat Sarah, Yitro ben Avraham, Stefan ben Katarina, Esther Bat Zipporah, and also for a Atzlacha Rabba, Me'al U'Me'ever, to Marsha Bat Julie, Ayla Bat Marsha, Samuel ben Marsha, Alexander ben Marsha, Cephas ben Marsha, Shaul ben Farzane, Yitro ben Avraham, Oshri ben Doris, Gabi ben Doris, Elad ben Doris, David ben Esriya, and Reuven Chaim ben Parel, and all of Am Yisrael, and also Joshua ben Noach, and all of Am Yisrael, especially the ones that are helping us do all the amazing things that we're doing, Baruch Hashem. We recently got completed with some of our financial filings for the organizations, and you have to go over a lot of different things. And one of the interesting reports that the companies provided us is an insight of where are all the donations coming from. I mean, I know that when we look online, and whether it's YouTube or Facebook, which Baruch Hashem are breaking all records as far as views right now, between the different channels that we have a run rate of something around 10 million minutes per month. So if you remember last time we talked about this last year, we had about 5 million a month. And that was quite a growth from the year before. Right now, already just a couple of months into the year, we've already, Baruch Hashem, doubled what we've done in the last year. We're at 10 million minutes a month. The main channel, which is my channel, hit about 7 million, or a little over 7 million last month. And then you have the other channels, the Portuguese and Spanish, and the German and French, Indonesian, Russian, Turkish, Baruch Hashem, a lot of different channels. Then you have Rabbi Ephraim's channel. So we're well over 10 million minutes a month, and that's just on YouTube. If you calculate the Facebook and everything else, Baruch Hashem, it's much, much more. So more or less, more than doubled already from last year, Baruch Hashem. And sometimes these different companies have give you an insight of where the people are coming from, because you see a lot of messages, you see a lot of emails, but you don't necessarily always get a chance to know where everybody's from. And sometimes things are a little bit hard to know how many people are really watching, because you'll see sometimes a video will only have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 views, and you're like, oh, okay, well, it's good, but it's not like the Yetzirah's videos that have millions of views. But then you actually see that, these few thousand views are actually a few thousand different people that you've impacted their life. Now, how do you know somebody has been impacted drastically? One of the measures, not the only measure, one of the measures is whether the person made a financial commitment, because a lot of people can press on your video and say they like it and watch it, or just simply press play and then press stop and go somewhere else. You don't really know how many of the views that people have are actually people watching it. And even if you have people that are watching it, you don't necessarily know how many people are actually impacted by it. Now, of course, you're not going to necessarily have the full impact of a video on a person, because sometimes you don't even know that the person was impacted by it until later on, because many times people tell me, first time they contact me by sending me a message of some kind, they tell me they've been watching my videos for 2, 3, 4, 5 years already, and I've never heard of their name. So, but apparently they were impacted some time ago. This is a very interesting thing. Now, how do you know that somebody was impacted if it's not them doing tshuva, because you don't know that they exist even? How do you know that they've been impacted? By financial commitment. As strange as that sounds, and as unfortunately superficial as it sounds, really that's what it is, financial commitment. When a person takes their hard-earned money and makes a donation to the organization as a result of not us selling him anything. You know, he doesn't get a product unless he's buying something from the website, but that's not very that's not the primary source of funds for the organization, because 99% of the stuff we give is free. But the thing is though is that 99% of the money comes from donations, so you're not giving him anything, but yet the person has been inspired wherever they are in the world by a video or a set of videos, to the point where they take a piece of their hard-earned money, and some people even a substantial amount of their hard-earned money, and starts donating, and even donating on a regular basis, making monthly contributions, whatever they can. And that's really a great indicator that a person has been impacted, especially if somebody's doing something on a monthly basis and not just as a one-time thing. But even one-time thing, you see people are inspired. Why? Because you see that this person could easily take this hard-earned money and go buy himself a phone, go pay a bill, go pay, go do something else with it, go eat with it. But instead they choose that, no, I want to donate the money. Now you could donate to millions of other organizations. Why choose to donate to our organization, Gezel HaShem? Obviously, you've seen a video that has inspired you to the point where you're going to change or are already changing your life, and you want other people to benefit from this change. Not just by seeing you as a better version of you, but also other people learning it. So you want this teaching to continue. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is because we got a map from one of the organizations that does our, has the technology behind our accepting payments, one of the merchant banks, and it shows us a map of where all of the contributions are coming from. And you would think, since I'm an English speaker, most of my lectures are in English, with the exception of once a week I do something in Hebrew, right after this lecture. But still, vast majority of what we do is English. And you have Rabbi Reuven, obviously everything is in Hebrew. But the point is that you'd figure vast majority of things will come from the United States. Incorrect. Why? First of all, there's a lot of English speakers all over the world. Second of all, the channels have grown massively, Baruch HaShem, where we're literally reaching the four corners of the world, especially when it comes to the different languages and different places. And the map shows people not only watching, but becoming committed to supporting the Torah that we're teaching and making investments into it from literally all corners of the world. The only place I don't think we've been able to enter yet is China. Russia, we're just starting out, but there's a little bit of a few dots in Russia. Russia's massive though. But everywhere else on the map, you'll see that there is a lot of red there, well, an indication that on the map that there are people there, some more, some less, but nonetheless everywhere. In Africa, in the Middle East, in the States, in Europe, in Canada, Baruch Hashem, all of the tzaddikim from Canada, a lot of people from Canada, which was really surprising how many people in Canada are not only watching our shulim, but are supporting them. Of course, in the States, in Europe, in the UK, in Australia, in the Philippines, Dubai, with Japan, which is unbelievable. India, there's a few. There is a different people in Ghana, in Nigeria. All these amazing people that are watching the shulim. But again, they're not just watching them. They're taking them to heart. They want other people to watch them. And they know that all of this costs money. They know that all of this, there's employees, there's volunteers, and even the volunteers cost money. Why? Because even though they may not charge us an hourly wage, There's technology costs, there's computer costs, there's phones, there's all types of things we have to support them with. Software, copyright, sometimes medical, sometimes legal, all types of different things that, that the team has. There's probably around 60 people or so on our team. And it's amazing how hard everybody works to put subtitles on the different videos, and how making them into movies, and then making all types of designs for the flyers and the lectures and the clips, and a lot of work, a ton of work goes into what we're doing. I mean, I think from the amount of work that goes in, people always send me messages at odd hours and saying, oh, you're probably sleeping, but when tomorrow, can you please get back to me? And they send me a message at 3:30 in the morning, and they're surprised to get a response and ask, why are you awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning? I said, because I have people all over the world, not just you. There's the Team HaShem that's all over the world, and sometimes they need guidance and help and on a project at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes it's different students from Australia, from the different places around the world that have a completely different schedule, and you have to become available. So yeah, we have no morning, we have no night, but nonetheless, it's really, really amazing to see that the people see the commitment and the hard work, and they themselves also contribute too. And I thank you for that. It was a beautiful map. I've seen maps throughout my whole life in school and things like that, but this was my favorite map ever. When you see a map, and especially when you compare it to last year and the year before, and how much more it's grown and how it's continued to grow, because it's not the money, it's the fact that you see you're impacting people's lives, and that gives you the strength, the chizuk, to continue. And that's actually one of the things that I wanted to discuss today, because I got a lot of feedback, really, really amazing feedback, more than usual, on the lecture that we did recently about Gezel, about stealing. The Gemara itself says that, not everybody has their hands, in desecration of Shabbat or immorality or some of these bigger crimes, but almost everybody at some point or another has had their hands in stealing. And when you know what the details of stealing are, where it's not just the obvious stealing where you go and you rob a bank, that's Gezel, by the way. And there's a difference between the Gneva and Gezel. There's stealing and then there's robbing. Stealing is when the person doesn't know that you're doing it. You're doing it in the dark. You're doing it behind a person's back. And Gezel is like a Ponzi scheme, or robbing a bank, or a stick up of some kind, where the person knows you're stealing from him, but you're doing it in open daylight, and there's nothing they can do about it. That's obviously much worse. But nonetheless, that's not really the only form of stealing. Sometimes people steal from their employees by not paying them the right salary. Or suddenly, when paycheck day comes, they never have the money, and they tell people, "I'll pay you tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow," and every paycheck is 2, 3, 4, 5 days late, and for different reasons that are not valid. Or sometimes they suddenly come up with different reasons of why the paycheck is really supposed to be lower than what it is, because, I saw that you were late that day and you were picking up a personal phone call that day. I remember when I first started working on Wall Street, I worked for this really evil person who initially told me that I'll make a lot of money in commissions and things like that, but after we saw that's not really true because you're just starting out, we agreed that he'll give me a minimal salary. And I was supposed to get $1,800 at the end of the month, and I get a check from this guy, and he gives me $300, $320. And I said, well, we're missing a little bit like $1,500. Right away, he was ready, this Rasha Merusha that he was. He comes up with a whole notebook, takes out his notebook behind his desk, and he starts showing me different dates. Oh, see, this date, your lunch was 1 extra minute, so I'm not paying you for the whole day. This day, you picked up a personal phone call, at 7:30 p.m., which we're not finished until 8, so I'm not paying you for the whole day. Not paying you for the whole day. Not paying you for the whole day. Like that day you were late 20 minutes. Not paying you for the whole day. And so on and so forth. So literally ripped me apart, and that was my last day, obviously, in that place. And I thought that I would find another place, and then the next guy was even worse. The next guy owed me a couple of $1,000, and then told me he's going to pay me the following month. And then the following month came, and instead of giving me $4,400, he gave me $81, and I have a copy of the check until this day, $81. And his reason was that he never really told me that he's going to pay me. That was a figment of my imagination. So that's stealing. That's 100% stealing from people, and it happens a lot where people hire people and they decide not to pay them. You hire a contractor to fix your roof, to fix your house. He does the job, and then you decide that, hey, by the way, senor, I don't have the money, so I'm just going to pay you half. What do you mean? I did the work already. The guy doesn't really have much of a choice. He's like, listen, you could either take this, instead of $10,000, take this $5,000, or take nothing. If you want, take nothing. And the poor guy has to feed his family and kids. What is he going to say? No, he takes the money. And argue as he may, he doesn't have much to do. Or sometimes it's done on the opposite, where the contractor, rips apart your house, which is very, very common, rips your roof, your floor, your walls, or whatever he is, and then for an agreed amount price that you have, and then he tells you, listen, senor, I'm sorry, but we're going to need more money. What do you mean? I already paid you the $50,000. I paid you $25,000. Yeah, no, I made a mistake. It's really $75,000, not $50,000. $50,000 is for the cost. $25,000 is for me. I'm not working for free. He starts making you feel bad, but he ripped you up for another $25,000, and you really have nothing to do. Why? Because your whole house looks like Genom. Looks like destruction went in there, and many times people fall into it. I remember my family had a remodeling that went from like $40,000 to, by the time they finished, was like $170,000. One contractor after another, nightmares, and this is stealing. This is stealing, and people steal from their jobs, from their employees, from insurance companies, from the government, claiming welfare when in reality they have plenty of money. The guy's making $100,000 a year, but it tells the government that he still needs to get, milk and cookies every month from the government, and he wants them to pay this and that. And before you know it, the government is sending him $500, $1,000, $2,000 a month because they think that he really only makes $12,000, and that's stealing. That's 100% stealing, and a lot of people do it, including in the Jewish community and non-Jewish community. Or people lie to the government in all forms, and stealing is a very, very big problem, because one of the things that we learned from the Chachamim is that money is considered blood. It's called damim, according to the Gemara. Damim means blood, but also it's plural, so it's bloods. Why bloods? Because there's more than one meaning, and there's also it's a plural aspect. The money is a plural word, and when a person has damim on his hands, that means that he has stolen money in his hands. And the Gemara says a person has blood on his hands is not allowed to enter Gan Eden. Not allowed. Even if he kept Shabbat and he kept this and he kept that, he comes to Shamayim, and he has a resume of steal that's full of different ways that he stole from people, from companies, from customers, from government, and so on and so forth. That person, with all of his beard and his peyot and his tzedakah that he gave and all the things that he have, if he did not do tshuva and fix that stolen money problem, he cannot enter Gan Eden, Rabotai. Cannot enter Gan Eden. And that's a very, very serious problem that a lot of people have, and they are going to get the surprise of their life. They're going to get the surprise of their life when they get up to Shamayim. Now the question is, we discussed a lot of this in the previous lecture. What's the further? Question is, why do people steal? Why is there Gezel? Why is there Gezel, Rabotai? So I heard this story that was told by Rav Chaim Zamir, who himself heard it from Rav Ovadia, alav shalom, who once said this story where there was in the old days, it was very common for a husband to work away from his home and be away from his home for weeks at a time, months at a time in some cases, and even in some cases years at a time, to go make a living and then bring back the money and stay with the family for a period of time and then go back to work. And this one guy would go away for a month at a time, go away to go work at some winery for some other Jewish guy who unfortunately was a person that was addicted to money. And the Gemara in Masechet Sukkah says, Ohev kesef lo yizba kesef. A person that loves money will never be satiated by money. Meaning it doesn't matter how much he has, he'll always want more. And it's not always wanting more in an ambitious way, but rather in a fanatic way, which means that all bets are off. He'll kill his mother for money if he has to. He'll cheat insurance companies. He'll cheat the government. He'll cheat his customers. He'll cheat even his own employees that are making him the money if that's what has to happen. And this was one of the examples where this man used to go away for a month at a time and then come back, see his family, for after he gets paid for the whole month. He comes back on a train, goes to see his family, stays there for a week, and then goes back out again to work. And as you would have it, the day that he got paid the monthly income was a Friday. So he got on on the road to get to the train, to be in time to get on a train to get there before Shabbat. But as you would have it, he missed the train. So he doesn't want to violate Shabbat, obviously, so he comes back to his employer, to the Baal Habayit, and he says to him, listen, I missed the train, would you mind if I stay with you for Shabbat? And then I'll go see my family after Shabbat. And the employee says, yeah, sure, no problem, you can stay there, and he stays in his usual spot. But now the guy has an issue. Why? He got the money. He got a full month's salary, hard work, he got the money, and in those days, he's not traveling with a safe. In those days, there's no bank accounts. So what is he going to do? So he has to find a place to hide the money. Especially on Shabbat, where you're not allowed to deal with money and so on. So what am I going to do? He says, I have an idea. I'm going to hide it in between the wine barrels. No one's going to go to the winery. No one's going to go into the wine barrels over here. So I'm going to hide it in between the wine barrels over there, and that's it. And that's what he did. He took his wallet, full of money, put it in there between the wine barrels, and went and started celebrating Shabbat. On Motzei Shabbat, he comes out to go get his money, and he sees Hashem Yishmor V'Yatzil. May Hashem preserve us and help us. He sees his money and the wallet, and any record of it is gone. Nowhere to be found. Now he knows, who could have possibly known that my money was here? No one broke into the wine. No one broke into this place. So the only one that could know is the employer, the host. Not only the host that he's staying at for Shabbat, but also the employer. Not only the employer, but the host. He's the thief. So, without losing his cool, he simply goes to the employer and he says to him, please. He's known that this guy is not exactly straight. He works for him, but so far until now he was good for them. But now he just stole the money from him. So he says, please do me a favor. I worked for a whole month. Please have some mercy on me. Give me my money back. The employer, look, what? What money? I paid you already. He goes, yeah, you paid me, but you took the money. No, what are you talking about? I paid you. I pretend play stupid. The thieves always play stupid. And the reason why they play stupid is because they believe you're stupid. Thieves are notorious for thinking that the whole world is stupid. And I've met a few of them in my life, and it's a very interesting experience that I wouldn't wish on others. But anyway, thieves always think everybody else is stupid, so they play stupid themselves because they figure that the person is too stupid to realize that they're really not that stupid. In so many words, this guy says, what are you talking about? I didn't take from you. I'm the one that paid you. What, I'm going to steal from you? What kind of person do you think I am? They give you the guilt trip. But the guy knows it's not possible for anybody else to take the money because nobody else knew. Nobody else knew he's going to be there. Nobody else knew that he hid the money there. And better yet, no one broke into the place. So it's not like somebody broke into it and you could say, he was in there. Nobody else knew. So he says, okay, so we have to go to Arav Klugel. Arav Shlomo Klugel, Alav Shalom, was one of the tzaddikim of the Dor, of the generation in the 1800s, a little over 200 years ago. And Arav Shlomo Klugel, he was the Dayan Kadosh in the area. He said, let's go. So the guy says, yeah, of course. We have to go to Rav. Well, we're Jews. Jews go to the rabbis. We don't go to secular court for sure. Now, they both go to Arav Shlomo Klugel and tell him the story. And Rav Klugel looks at the employer, looks at the employee, the poor employee that his money is gone, and then he's back at the employer. He says, you're right, to the employer. You're right. You're a tzaddik. You didn't steal the money. The guy's like, yeah, I see it. Baruch Hashem, yeah, thank you for the Rav. I'm sorry it happened to you. You know, he plays the whole thing. I'm sorry it happened to you, but yeah, see the Rav. So the Rav says, yeah, you're right. But do me a favor, get me the papers from the shelf behind you. I need to write the psak. So the guy said, psak? Well, what psak, Rabbi? I need to write something. Give me the papers I have to write. So the guy slowly gets the letter. He's not really sure he wants to. What's psak? Why is there psak? What's happening here? But he gets he listens to the good little boy. Listens to the rabbi. He gets the paper. You know, in those days, paper was very expensive. So it's not like you have boxes of paper just sitting. You have to go get the paper, one paper at a time. Gets the writing equipment over there, the little feather. And he gives it to the Rav. He goes, okay, what's the name of your company? Tells him the name. What's the name? Okay, so I'm writing over here. I'm just going to let you know. Before I write, I'm letting you know. I'm writing that. You have to put this in your company wall. What are you putting about the thing? Why does everybody have to know that he accused me of stealing? He's going to look for my business. He goes, no, chas v'shalom. You're not telling them that he accused you of stealing. You're telling them that somebody that's not Jewish broke into your winery, and therefore all of your wine is considered yain nesech, meaning the wine of idolatry, and Jews are forbidden from buying it from you. That the guy almost had 3 heart attacks and a seizure. What Rabbi, what are you talking? What do you mean? He says, well, what do you mean? Why is this confusing to you? You see, since you didn't steal the money, then surely the majority of the people that live here are idol worshippers, goyim, all types of Christians and so on. So surely it's not you. You're a tzaddik. You didn't steal the money. So one of them must have broken, since they're the majority, most of them broken into your winery and took the money. And we have an halacha that when our wine is out of our sight and in the sight and in the control of an idol worshiper, automatically we believe he touched it and used it for idolatry, and it turns into yain nesech, the forbidden wine, and that you cannot fix. So that means that all of the barrels that you have there are all yain nesech, and unfortunately you have to destroy them. You can't sell them to Jews. The guy's entire company would go bankrupt in a second. A lot more money than he paid the guy. He thought he got over the guy. He thought he got over the Rav. He thought he got over HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, because he says they can't prove that I'm a thief. Can't prove that I'm a thief. Right? So the rabbi says, here you go. You have to put this. He goes, no, Rabbi, I have to tell you something. Yes? I know who stole the money. You do? Okay, fine. Tell them to return the money. He goes, no, Rabbi. I know who stole the money. Fine, it's good. Oh HaShem, Chazaku Baruch. If you want to bring him here. I don't know, but okay, fine. While you're thinking about, go take this psak halacha and put it on the wall so nobody goes and buys wine in the meantime. Put it on the wall for now. No, Rabbi, I don't think we need to do that. Well, why not? He goes, no. You see, Rabbi, the guy had to admit it. He says, the Rabbi, I'm the thief. Wait, but you just said you didn't steal. No, yeah, Rabbi, I lied. listen, how do I know that you're really the thief? Maybe because you don't like the conclusion that you're going to lose all this wine, you're making it up. No, Rabbi, I'm going to go get it with the wallet, and you'll see that it's not just money I'm making up. It's his money, it's his wallet, I stole it. And that, Rabotai Yekarim, is when Chachamim say, Talmidei Chachamim marbim shalom ba'olam, the Talmidei Chachamim bring peace to the world. They're meaning this. It's not just, oh, Talmid Chacham, he wasn't nice to him, so therefore the Talmid Chacham made peace between them that way. No, sometimes it's to bring the righteous deen to the world. That's bringing peace to the world. Why? Because now, Rabotai, even though he got embarrassed, the reality is he saved his eternity. That embarrassment saved his eternity. It saved his eternity, Rabotai, because if he would have died with that stolen money in his hands, he would have never gone to Gan Eden. Now, it's amazing how the Chachamim know exactly how to deal with people. But many times, Rabotai, people do different things without asking the Chachamim, and they simply get to a point where they don't know how to function in the world. And that lack of knowledge, that ignorance, leads them to a place that no person, no Jew or Gentile ever wants to be in, which is a place where you have blood on your hands, you have stolen money in your hands. Now, Rav Avigdor Miller, alav shalom, they publicized one of his Divrei Torah today, very interesting and relevant. We're talking about people working and so on. And the question is, does striving to become successful, financially successful and comfortable, take away from Torah and Yirat Shamayim? That was the question they asked of Avigdor Miller. And he answers, this was an answer that he gave in 1980, in April 1980, in tape 308. And Rav Avigdor Miller answers the following. He says that people that think such a thing are foolish people because they don't know how to fit this world with the spiritual world. And in order to succeed, Rav Avigdor Miller says, as a Jew, a person must have a decent gashmiut, meaning a way to sustain himself, materialism. He has to be able to survive. He has to have a profession. He must have some type of calling. Now, you don't necessarily need to be a doctor. You don't necessarily need to be some multimillionaire or anything. But he says you have to make some form of living and not be a schlep, not be a failure. That's not a way to be a Jew. He says if you are such a person that you can succeed in learning Torah and become a scholar, you could become a Talmid Chacham and so on, and you're learning a lot every single day. Not you want to learn. A lot of people tell me, listen, Rabbi, how do I get to a point where I can learn 12, 14 hours a day? And I say, well, how much are you learning now? Are you getting close to it? No, right now, I watch a video a day. Maybe I get like 2 hours when I'm in my car. Wait, so you want to go from watching a video, listening to a lecture, 2 hours a day, to go learn in a kollel 14 hours a day? You think that's a real, you could actually do that? You think it's that easy to learn? Even if you're listening to 12 hours of videos a day, to go from 12 hours of videos to 12 hours of learning Gemara, Poskim, the Shulchan Aruch, and so on, it's a world apart. It's a lot more difficult. There's no question about it. Even if it's a good shiur, even if it's my shiur. It's a world apart, learning this and learning that. Of course, you should always listen to a shiur Torah. But again, there's a difficulty. In one end, when you're learning a shiur, I'm giving you everything on a silver platter. I'm telling you the sources. I'm telling you what they all mean and so on and so forth. That's what a good shiur is. But when you're learning in a book, you're learning from the Gemara, you're learning the poskim, you're trying to figure out what they're even saying. And you're hoping that you're even going to understand what they're saying after they say the conclusion, because it's not necessarily so simple to understand all the time. Especially if you're learning the Shas, the Gemara, and so on. But so it's a lot more toiling, a lot more difficult to understand, a lot more exciting at times. But nonetheless, it's not the same thing. But a person thinks that, just because they like Shiurei Torah, they can go to a kollel and they could become the Gaon Vilna, learn 20 hours a day. It doesn't work that way. But if a person is already learning many hours, continue learning more and more and more and more. And if you see that you're already at a point where you're learning 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours while you're still working a real career, and you still want more, you want to go to kollel, go for it, absolutely. But if you're only learning a clip here and there whenever you get a chance, and you think that you're going to become a Talmid Chacham that way, and it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So, but if a person wants to be a Talmid Chacham and he's able to do it, and not a lot of people could do it, Avigdor Miller says you could learn all day. Some people can do it, and there are going to be some people that are willing to support these avrechim. There are kollels that give a small salary of maybe $500-600 a month. And that's not enough to obviously feed a family, but at least it's something. And then you have to get some people to support you, whether it's family or friends and so on. And we, as part of our organization, we have several avrechim that we send money to every single month. These are really serious avrechim that are, each one of them is either already a dayan or in the process of becoming a dayan, which is the highest level that a person can get to. And we have some people that donate money each month to support these avrechim on our website. Some people want to donate to take on 1 week of their Torah. Some for 2 weeks, some for 3 weeks. And we give real amounts. We don't just say, listen, if you give $100, you're getting the merits of a whole month of Torah from this avrech. Babkis. You're not getting no month. No, you're lucky if you get a day. Why? It doesn't cost the guy $100 to live the whole month. It's just not a reality. So we put real amounts, and we don't like to put these fictitious amounts that people just to get donations. We tell people, you want to sponsor a person for a month, this is the cost. You want to sponsor for a month, this is the cost. And again, it also depends on the avrech. Some avrechim have a higher cost of living. We have one standard price, but nonetheless, there are people that donate their money, not just by us, of course, by many other organizations and kollels, to support these people that are willing and able to study Torah all month, all day, all night, and have no intention of doing anything else. So Rav Avigdor Miller says, if you can do that, good, but most people won't do that. And therefore, you have to make a living in a normal way, and you have to learn a trade. You have to find out what your calling is in life. Whether it's to sell insurance, or it's to work for some factory, or it's to deliver products for Amazon, or it's to whatever it is that you want to do, you have to find a trade. It's not just the trade, is not just to be a doctor or a lawyer. You can do 1.5 million other things. It's actually being a doctor and a lawyer is not exactly like it used to be. People thought that that's, in old days, that was the main way to make money. There are plenty of other ways to make a lot more money than a doctor could ever make. In doing all types of things. But nonetheless, the objective is not to necessarily make millions, it's just to do something that's going to help you make a living and so on. You have to have a home, you have to have a wife, you have to earn your own way and not live on welfare. Rav Avigdor Miller says. Don't live on welfare, meaning not don't live on welfare where, there's some people, they have no choice. They're disabled, they're not able to work. For them, of course, they can live on welfare and take advantage of the opportunities that are available in the country they live in. But if a person is able to work, but they're simply lazy, or they don't want to push themselves to work harder to make more money, them living on welfare, Rav Avigdor Miller talks about them right here. He says, anybody who lives on welfare, and he's again referring not to the disabled person that's incapable of helping themselves, but the person that can help themselves and chooses not to. He says, anyone who lives on welfare is a flop, he's a failure, and his life is ruined. Even his ruchniut is ruined, meaning even his spirituality is ruined. He thinks that just because he is going to learn a little extra as a result of him living on welfare when he could really support himself if he just pushed himself a little harder to get a regular job. He thinks that he's going to make him better spiritually. And forget this. No, he says you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Even your ruchniut is bad. Don't deceive ourselves. As the Gemara says, a man must teach his son umanut. Umanut is trade. And he says, the Gemara says, Re chaim im isha asher ha'afta. The pasuk says, see life with the woman whom you love. And the Gemara says, what does it mean, the woman who you love? It means the Torah. The Torah is the woman we love. The Jewish nation loves the Torah, but it says, see life with the Torah. What does it mean, see life with the Torah? Learn a umanut. Learn a trade. And the Gemara says you have to learn some kind of livelihood to go along with the Torah. To go along with the Torah. And that's the reality. And unfortunately, sometimes he brings a story. You sometimes have people fall for the trap. Fall for the trap, not their own trap, but somebody else's trap. And he says a story. He says that he met a woman that was a Gioret Tzedikah, that converted to Judaism. And many times these converts are idealistic. They live in a different world. They're really high spiritually. And unfortunately, sometimes they don't know how to go back to reality. And I've met some people where the first thing they want to do as soon as they convert is move to Israel. And I ask them, did you ever go to Israel to visit? No. Do you know anybody in Israel? No. Do you have a job in Israel waiting for you? No. Do you have a lot of savings that you're going to support yourself in Israel? No. So what are you going to do in Israel exactly when you get off the plane? Well, HaShem is going to help me. It's not great. Yeah, but it's not HaShem is going to help you, but that's not exactly the right way to live. It's not exactly the right way to live. And sometimes they listen and sometimes they don't. And when they don't, it's very unfortunate because I see them struggling a lot more than necessary. A lot more than necessary. In one case, I remember the woman that did it ended up going to Israel, left our husband here and kids, and ended up ruining our entire life, divorce and all of that. But she lived in Israel. So it's not the right way to do things, but idealistic people do that. And the Rav Victor Miller says that he met this young woman that was a idealistic woman, was a convert, and he asked her who she married to, and she said that she is married to another idealistic person. And he said, who is this person? He says, a Jew, is a frum guy, frum from birth, and she loves him. And Rav Victor Miller says, what does he do? She says he's a writer. He's a writer. Oh, he's a writer. What has he published? Oh, no, he hasn't published anything. Oh, what is he working on right now? No, he lies in bed all day long. Lies in bed all day long? Says, a man like that is not a cripple. What's wrong with him? Why doesn't he do something? She says, no, he's a great idealistic person. He's thinking up plans and drawing up a plan for some great work. So in the meantime, he is laying in bed thinking. That's the way he thinks, while he's in bed. In reality, the guy's a bum. That's what he is. And some time passed, and Rav Victor Miller heard that this woman ended up running away from the house with her 3 little kids because this idealistic writer that was laying in bed all day was beating her and the kids senseless. And that's the reality. And the reason why he says is because he never learned how to make parnasah. He was simply a lazy person. And when things dried up for him, he took out all of his energy, all of his negative energy on the tzadikah that married him. Now the Mishnah in Avot, in Perek Bet says, Rabban Gamliel, בנו של רבי יהודה הנשיא אומר, יפה תלמוד תורה עם דרך ארץ, שהגיעת שניהם משכחת עוון. Rabban Gamliel, the son of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, which is Rabbi Kadosh, who wrote the Mishnah, he says, Omer, where is Omer? Where is Omer? Why does it say Omer? Omer is in essence, says, but why doesn't it say he said? Why does it say he says, Omer? Why does it say Amar? Like he said in the past. Why is it Omer? Omer means is present. First and foremost, that's to teach you that this information is relevant to you today, 3,000 years later, 2,500 years later. Number one. Number two is the fact, Omer, he says, because why? Because he's talking to himself first. He's talking to himself first, and he is doing all of what he says. He's not just saying it, he's saying it to himself, and he's fulfilling what he says. So that I also heard a chidush from my Arav Zamir. So now, Rabban Gamliel, the son of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, says, Torah study is acceptable together with an occupation. For exertion of them both makes sin forgotten. See, here the Torah specifically says a person needs to learn Torah, learn a few hours a day while you actually have a day job, unless the Torah is your day job. What does it mean the Torah is your day job? You're learning Torah all day. You wake up early in the morning, and you pray, and then you start learning. You take a little bit of break to eat, and then you go back to learning all day. And you have a full schedule as if it's a full-time job, and even more so. And then after dinner, you spend a little time with the kids and the wife, and you go back to learning. And you're going to learn, 10, 12, 15 hours, as much as you possibly can. I mean, if you're learning a couple of hours a day, you're not really fulfilling your full potential. Now, if a person has I had this question where somebody told me, listen, my husband is starting to learn, but really, he's not ready to learn the whole day. He's learning, let's say from 9 to 1, and then he takes a break, and then he learns a little bit more at night. Should I tell him to go back to work? No, don't tell him to go back to work. Why? Because obviously what he's doing is coming from laziness, which we'll talk about in a moment. And if you're going to take him out of kollel, most likely he's not only going to stop learning, but he's probably going to continue being lazy and even worse. So it's better to just leave him there and try to support him and be motivating to him and make his Torah a big deal so it entices him to learn even more. So the Rabban Gamliel says that you have to have this Torah with a job, with some type of way to make a living. And but all Torah that is not joined with work will cease in the end. Will cease in the end and lead to sin. Why? Because boredom leads to sin. If you're just going to work, you're only going to learn Torah a couple hours a day, and then the rest of the day you're going to be a bum, it's going to lead to sin. Why? Boredom leads to sin. That's just the reality what Shlomo HaMelech taught us. And if, on the other hand, you're just going to learn and not make the Torah really your full time, you're just going to treat it like you're going to sin for sure. And one of those sins, Rabotai, the Mishnah is more extensive than this, but you want to learn the rest of it, I would suggest listening to our Pirkei Avot series. We have 179 lectures in the Pirkei Avot series, online for free on the app, the Be'ezrat Hashem app, or on the channels that we have, or you could just order yourself a USB, watch and listen to all of the Pirkei Avot series. But here, this particular Mishnah is saying that if you're not going to learn Torah and work, which again, the Torah can be your work, but that means it's full-time, not part-time. You can't just part-time Torah and nothing else. It's either full-time Torah or part Torah, part actual work. If you don't do that, for sure, your Torah is not going to survive because of the sins that you're going to have in your hand. And what kind of sins? What kind of sins? One of those sins, Rabotai, that's most popular, that's most often, is stealing. Why is stealing? Why do people steal? Why did that employer steal from his employee? Why do people steal from the government? Why do people steal from their friends? Why do people steal even from their own family, from their own kids or their parents? Why do people steal? I'll give you a couple of reasons and a small insight and then get to your questions, because I know you guys are probably eager to ask questions. But it's a very important subject. And it's something that we need to learn, and B'ezrat Hashem today we'll try to cover it. First reason of why people steal is simply because they believe that the world owes them something. Simple. They have a huge ego. They believe that the company that they work for is not paying them enough. They're worth a lot more than what they're getting paid. And since the company doesn't agree, they just simply make themselves feel at home and take the extra cash that doesn't belong to them. Whether it's money that they're really supposed to be spending as company expense, they turn it into personal expense, or sometimes it's using company merchandise for their own personal use, or sometimes outright steal all types of products, all types of things, and they simply steal from the company. Or the most common thing is, hey, Steve, do me a favor, clock me in. Oh, okay, you're here? No, I'm not coming in today. So why should I clock you in? I want to get paid. And that's, okay, you're going to do that for me also? Yeah, so Steve and Joe, that's what they do for each other. They work for a huge company, and they don't want to work though. They want to steal. So what do? They simply tell each other, listen, I'm going to work 2 times a week, but I'm going to get paid for 5. You work 2 times a week, and I'm going to pay for 5. How? When we're not here, you're going to be here, and therefore you clock me in as if I'm coming in the whole day, and management has too many employees to manage, and they don't know who's there, who's not. They look at a clock sheet. They look at some type of computer program, thinking that everybody's there, and everybody has has integrity. And unfortunately, these guys are stealing, and every single penny that they're stealing from that company will be a very serious punishment. They'll regret the day they were born. But nonetheless, people steal on a regular basis. As I mentioned before, they steal from the government, pretend like they don't have any money when they really do. They steal from insurance companies by making all types of false claims. One of the most common ways that people steal today is people that are homeowners, and they have some type of damage in their house, and they bring Muhammad, the adjuster. They don't bring the insurance company's adjuster, they bring their own personal adjuster. There's always a Muhammad that is the adjuster. And it's not always a Muhammad, sometimes it's a Yaakov, unfortunately. And sometimes that Yaakov has a kippah. Don't think that I haven't seen religious guys actually do this crime against the Torah, Chilul Hashem Gamur. What would happen? You have a little damage, a little bit of water drips on the floor, and it, let's say, causes some damage in some place. So you bring Muhammad, and Muhammad comes to the house, and they saying that, you're professional, because you filed a claim with the insurance company, you have home insurance. So call the insurance company, listen, I have a claim, no problem, we need to get an adjuster out there. Do you want to use our adjuster? No, I'll get an adjuster. He calls Muhammad. Muhammad says, listen, you signed this deal, you signed this agreement, you're going to give me 10, 20, 30% of the money of whatever money I'm going to get you. And no problem, you signed the agreement. And there you go, Muhammad goes to work and he sees, oh, you have $5,000 in damage. And that actually really did happen. But let's see everywhere else. And he starts inventing damage that's completely unrelated. Instead of a $5,000 claim, he sends a $150,000 claim. And guess what? He gets the money. You think you're a big winner. You got $150,000 from the company. $50,000 goes to Muhammad. You got $100,000. Honey, you see, HaShem sends money. HaShem sends parnasa. Now we can really do that remodeling. You have no idea how much problems that money is going to give you. You think that you made money. You made money in an awful way. You made money in an awful way, and you're going to pay for it. This is very common. I've seen it with my own eyes, Rabotai Karim. And there's countless ways. Every day a new sucker is born. Every day there are 2 thieves that are born. Every day. And why? Ego. People believe that the world is stupid. People believe that the world owes them something. The company has a lot of money. I don't. They should give me something. Why? I'm great. That's what they believe. And ego, Rabotai Karim, is one of the abominable things that exists in the world, to the extent where HaKadosh Baruch Hu writes multiple times in the Torah, To'evat Hashem kol gvalev, and the most filthy, disgusting thing, the most abominable thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can think of is someone that has pride, someone that has ego. Why? Because that person is not only have ego against other people, but even against Hashem himself. where he thinks that he can fool Hashem. He thinks that if he says, oh, Hashem helped us do this, what is it? Oh, I said Be'ezrat Hashem, and that's why I won the poker hand and gambling. I said Be'ezrat Hashem, and that's why we landed that deal where we're gonna, take advantage of these customers and charge them 150% interest. He thinks that because he has a kippah and because he gave some tzedakah, he's fooling Hashem. That's why the pasuk in Tehillim, David HaMelech says in the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Am Yisrael, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to the sinner, he says, you thought I was like you. What do you mean you thought I was like you? You thought that just because I didn't punish you right away when I saw you stealing, you thought that just because I didn't destroy you and cause you to go bankrupt and homeless after all the corruption that you did, despite the money that you've donated, it was really stolen money that you donated. You thought that I agreed with you, I was like you. Now HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm going to rip you apart. And it literally says that in the pasuk. People steal money, eventually lose everything, eventually get complete. Just like you saw with Bernard Madoff. Shem Reshaim Yerkav, complete Chilul Hashem. The guy was living on a cloud nine, donating millions and millions of dollars everywhere. Everyone liked them and honored them and so on, because he was not only a savvy businessman apparently that did a few good things actually in the business world, where he built the infrastructure of trading that people use till this day, but he built off of that good platform, just like Christianity. He built off of the good legitimate platform to a world of corruption, and he built a Ponzi scheme of tens of billions of dollars and ended up destroying the lives of all of the so-called friends, family, his own two kids. One of them committed suicide. The other one ended up dying of cancer after a lot of embarrassment 2 years later. His wife still lives in embarrassment till this day. One of the friends that he had committed suicide. All types of people killed themselves as a result of Bernard Madoff's scam. He, Baruch Hashem, died recently, and I wouldn't want to be in his trial, needless to say, where he's going to end up being, because of how much Chilul Hashem he caused. He stole money. He stole money, and he donated the money to Jewish charities, to non-Jewish charities, to all types of things. And people thought he's a good guy because he's donating so much money. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you thought I was like you? And when that ended up happening, the Mishnah in Avot says, anyone that desecrates Hashem's name in hiding, where nobody knows, eventually HaKadosh Baruch Hu will expose them to the whole world. And Bernard Madoff is one of the perfect examples that we see, where all of his crime was behind the scenes. No one knew for decades. But when HaKadosh Baruch Hu exposed it, everybody knows. Nobody doesn't know. Everybody knows. And the embarrassment came out everywhere and is still there, and it'll never go away. And the same thing happened with the other Reshaim, whether it's the Epstein guy, there's the pedophiles and the rapists and all these ugly people that do crimes and think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not, because he doesn't punish them right away, that means he agrees with them. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that's only because of the ego. That's reason number one of why people steal, and quite frankly why they do all sins. Huge ego. Reason number two, lazy. People are lazy, and many times they use the Torah as the excuse to justify their laziness. Instead of going to work, they warm up their couch and their chairs all day, and they don't want to move, they don't want to work, because they think that they're Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in the cave. Oh, how come you're not going to work? No, who needs work? The rabbi says focus on Torah. Yeah, but the rabbi also said that, you have to live, you have to eat. No, don't worry, I'll ask my parents for money. Well, your parents have a lot of money like that they're planning on supporting you when you're 35 years old already? Oh, listen, they're okay. And you find out that the parents are really, they themselves are struggling, but that's also only because they have a degenerate son or a daughter that doesn't want to work, and she or he wants to be Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, sit on the couch all day and listen to Shurei Torah, and she thinks she's doing a mitzvah. Not a mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah to put yourself in such a situation, and you are causing people to struggle because you're lazy. It's not because you're righteous. People are lazy, and that's why they think that they're allowed to steal from people. But they won't call it stealing. They'll call it what? They're helping me. I'm elevating myself. Elevate yourself both in gashmiut and ruchniut. If you want to be an avrech, go to a kollel. Go to a kollel, study full time. But you want to be somebody that's just listening to Shulei Torah, reading a book whenever you get a chance, and you think that you are doing righteous things, you're not doing righteous things. You're living an illusion. An illusion you're living. And unfortunately, Rabotai, that laziness causes a lot of people to steal. Sometimes you'll have people simply steal from their companies. Why? Instead of working, he takes off. Oh, where'd you go yesterday? I didn't see you. Oh, yeah, no, I had a shiur Torah. Yeah, but I'm not paying you to go to a shiur Torah. I'm not paying you to go to a shiur Torah. Yeah, but come on, I mean, you're a Jew, I'm a Jew. I need to learn. Okay, you need to learn in your own time. I'm paying you to work. I'm not paying you to learn. You want to go learn, go to Kolo, they'll pay you. And people justify that. Or sometimes, like I told you in the past, people will listen to Shulei Torah or read a book while they're at work. If you have the kind of job where your boss truly doesn't mind, as long as you fulfill your obligation at a specific time, no problem. You're allowed to listen to a shiur Torah or read a book or scratch your head. But if you don't have such a boss, and your boss does mind, and he does want you to work and not do other things, then if you are violating that, you're stealing. 100% stealing. And why are you doing it? Because you don't really feel like working. You're like, you know what, should I work, lift boxes on my head, or should I just like sit there and learn Torah? So that's the thing. It's the laziness that people have causes them to steal on a regular basis. Laziness. And it's a disaster. That's why people end up living on borrowed money. And they borrow from Peter to pay Paul, and they borrow from the credit cards, and they borrow from that one, and they pay that one, and they maneuver themselves, and they think that makes them savvy, and that's how they're getting by. Babkis, Rabotai. That's not the way to live. That's not the way to live. To live on constantly fooling people or beating the system. Just because you are lazy and you don't want to work, that's not the way of a Jew. It's not the way of a Jew. It's not the way of a good human being. Person needs to work. You want the Torah to be your job? Go work full-time in the Torah world. But if it's not, you have to get a regular job. You have to get a regular job. But people live fantasy life. Fantasy life. What do they do? No, Rabbi, listen. I'm doing kiruv all day. Oh, okay, Baruch Hashem. So how are you making a living? You're working for a kiruv organization? No, Rabbi, I'm publicizing your stuff. Oh, well, thank you very much for publicizing my stuff, but I'm not paying you because you're not an employee. So how are you living? Oh, no, don't worry, Rabbi, I got a few things going on. And then you find out later on, 6 months, 8 months, a year later, where the guy's crying to you or the girl's crying to you. Hey, listen, Rabbi, can you do me a favor? Do you have maybe you can make me a campaign? Campaign for you? Why? Were you dying? What happened to you? No, listen, I haven't paid my rent in 8 months. And also, I borrowed some money from some people. I need to come up with some money. How much is some money? Oh, only 25,000. What do you think? We're going to make a campaign because you're lazy? You don't want to pay people their rent? You don't want to pay your mortgage? You don't want to pay. And on top of that, you're borrowing people knowing that you can't pay it back, which actually the Torah says, the minute you borrow money, when you know you have no way of paying it back, Torah calls you Rasha. So all of that Torah that you learned, it's not going to a good place. Not going to a good place. You're a thief. You're a thief. Why? Because you're lazy. Lazy, Rabotai. People are lazy. People are very, very lazy, and many times they use the Torah as an excuse to be lazy. That's, Rabotai, not a good thing. Not a good thing. Third reason, delusional. That's the third reason. People are delusional. What do? They simply think that they just did tshuva a year, 2, 3, 4 years ago. And they think that they became Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. How? I'm just simply going to be here, I'm going to read some books, and I'm going to watch some videos whenever I get a chance, in between breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a few desserts, and also a little bit of TV, and also a little bit of sports, and also a little bit of CNBC. And Hashem is going to send me my parnasa. I don't need to go to work. Work is for people that have no emunah. I have emunah that the money is going to arrive at my house. You don't have emunah. You are lazy. Lazy. Go work. Go work. You are lazy. You don't have emunah. Why? Because the reality is that if you got a government letter from somebody's investigating you, that second, all of your emunah goes in the garbage. You're going to start crying like a little baby. You're going to start crying like a little baby. The reality is, Rabotai, people are lazy, but they're delusional. They're delusional. And they think that they could just sit there and Hashem's going to send them money. Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. Even the people that do get miraculous parnasa, I can't tell you that I don't live on a miracle. We see miracles on a day-to-day basis. Day-to-day basis. But what do you think? It comes for free. You think that it's something that it doesn't come with a lot of tests. You think that the bank account doesn't go to zero and you have no money to eat. You think it doesn't get to a point where you have no idea how you're going to pay the bills. You think it doesn't get to a point where you have major crises. You think it comes for free. People are delusional. But even during that time, you go work, you go do, you keep operating. And that's the reality. Emunah is not something that you acquire for free. And it requires an enormous amount of Torah and Mesirut Nefesh and a lot of things. And I can tell you myself, it's not easy. It's not for everybody. But people think that just because they're lazy, that makes them that they have Emunah. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. One day, B'ezrat Hashem, I wish I could share all of the different miracles that we've gone through, but at the same token, all of the different tests that we had to go through in order to get there. And even there, B'ezrat Hashem, we're only 1% of 1%, B'ezrat Hashem, of having actual real Emunah. To have real Emunah, Rabotai, is a lifelong mission that's full of hurdles and difficulties and tests and so on and so forth. It doesn't come for free. It doesn't come for free. It doesn't come easy. And people that are lazy, many times, will use the Torah as an excuse to do nothing. What are you doing? No, I'm starting a business. What business are you starting? I'm still thinking about it. Well, last time I asked you 6 months ago, 8 months ago, you were still thinking about it. Yeah, no, back then I wanted to maybe do an Amazon store, but now I'm thinking eBay. Oh, so 8 months it took you to think that instead of opening an Amazon store to sell a product you don't even have, you are now thinking to open an eBay store, but you still don't have a product. You are lazy. You are lazy. And the only reason why you're still alive is because you're torturing the people around you. Borrowing money you can't accept, cheating people, telling them that you're going to pay them back, lying to people, making all types of fake campaigns. And I even have some people, they send me messages literally on a weekly basis and tell me, Rabbi, can you do me a favor? Maybe you can get some of your people to donate to this campaign? I'm running the campaign. It's always the same guy. He thinks that I'm retarded. 3-4 years already, he sends me these fake campaigns that he makes, and it's all him. But he says, oh, there's an anonymous family that, they don't want to disclose their name, but they're really struggling. They don't have any, money to pay the mortgage. Now you would think, oh, wow, Rabbi, you should feel remorseful about it. Why? I don't feel remorse for that person. Why? He chooses to be that way. He sits at home, does nothing all day, instead of, other than gamble. Any dollar that he gets, he gambles, he steals, he does all types of horrible things. That's why he doesn't have any money. He has no bracha. But he keeps stealing from people even more with fake campaigns. And there's other people like that. They send me messages, Rabbi, $36. They pretty much have 500 people on their contacts, and they send everybody a request of $18, $20, $30. They don't have to work. Why? They figured that I'll send 500 requests, 10 people are going to answer me. I made my money for the week. Lazy people that are delusional, that are lazy, and that have a huge ego because they think everyone is stupid. Rabotai Yekarim, do not put yourself in that position. And if you identify yourself in any aspect of what I just said for the last hour, correct it immediately. Correct it immediately. Do not have any stolen money on your hands. Not because you're lazy, not because you're delusional, and not because you're egotistical and you think that the world owes you something and therefore that gives you the right to steal from them. It's very important to have a clean business, a clean way to make a living, and most importantly, clean hands. Clean hands. And if you don't have clean hands because you've made some mistakes, no problem. Fix it immediately. Fix it immediately. Fix it immediately. Sometimes I talk about this subject, tell people, listen, you have stolen money, give it back right away. Give it back right away. And some people don't have the money, but some people do have the money. Listen, Rabbi, I did this, and this, and I stole, I have like $20,000 in the bank, but if I pay this $10,000 right away, It's half my money. Can I just make payments? That's a stupid person. That's a stupid person. Why? You have the money that you stole. And not only that, you have even more than the money that you stole. And you're thinking, let me just make some payments. Who guarantees you that you're going to live long enough to make all those payments? And the best part is, usually it's small, tiny payments, where it's going to take them 1,000 years to pay it back. That's an egotistical person who thinks God is stupid. Not only the people, God is stupid. That's what he thinks. Rabotai, I'm telling you, and I'm telling you again, do not be such a person. Do not be such a person. You have to know it is critical for a person to combine his Torah with a way to make a living. If you don't have a way to make a living, you have to find one. You have to find one. And if you're saying, no, but I want to be a Torah scholar, then that means the second you wake up, you go to the kollel. And you're there until you can't see straight anymore because you're studying all day. Then you go, spend some time with your family, and then you go back to learning a little bit more, and then you go to sleep. But if you're only learning 1, 2, 3 hours a day, you should get a job. You should get a job. Why? Because you should be able to learn a few hours a day and work. You should be able to do both. But if you're only learning at kollel, and you don't really want to go to work, talk to me. Maybe I'll smack some sense into you, and hopefully either get you to study more or get you to work, but you can't continue wasting your life. Don't waste your life, Rabotai. You have 24 hours in a day. You're not supposed to waste a single minute out of it. Even your sleep is supposed to be part of your avodat Hashem. So make sure that every minute of your day is part of your avodat Hashem, whether it's working by learning Torah, working by doing chesed, by doing mitzvot, by doing kiruv, or working for some company, working for your own company to make a living so you can eat, so you don't have to live on some fantasy, and definitely not on stolen money. Bezrat Hashem, we'll continue answering your questions now after I get a little bit of a drink, and then Bezrat Hashem will continue. I made a blessing before. Okay, let's see the questions. Wait a minute, where's the questions today? Oh, okay. They changed the section of the questions. Interesting. Let's see. One is asking, what were exactly the ma'amadot in ancient times? I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. I don't understand the question, I'm sorry. Ethan, is using a light bulb permissible to substitute for a candle on Shabbat if needed? And 2, how does one believe in Lashon Hara? Okay, 2 very good and very different questions. So in regards to using a light bulb, if a person does not have a candles because he cannot afford to buy candles, or he completely forgot, it's a one-off, not on a regular basis, he forgot to buy them and he doesn't have enough time to buy them because Shabbat's coming, or the candles that he have are simply not working for whatever reason or another, then a person can turn on the light and turn off the light and then turn on the light as a light bulb. But that's not something that a person should do lechatchila, but rather as a last resort. If you find yourself doing that twice in 1 year, it already shows that there's a problem. 2, how does one believe in Lashon Hara? Okay, so the issues of Lashon Hara are very extensive. The Chafetz Chaim wrote extensively about Lashon Hara. It's translated to English and many other languages, but in general, there are 3 people that are punished for the sake of for the issues of Lashon Hara. The person that says Lashon Hara, the person that listens to the Lashon Hara and believes it, and also even the person that Lashon Hara is being told about. Why? Because the Gemara says that no one is spoken against. No one is someone that is embarrassed because they're innocent. There really is a reason for it. Excuse me. So, but the point being is that the main punishment obviously is the guy that says lashon hara and the guy that believes him. So, if let's say, for example, somebody says to you, "Oh, you see, Steve? Yeah, Steve is he makes $5 million a year. He talks about about other people's money, and he just donated $1 million to HaShem. That's lashon hara. That's lashon hara. Who says that Steve wants you to tell people about how much money he donated? That's lashon hara. You believe this lashon hara. You say, "Oh wow, Steve, he donated $1 million. Wow, if I had $5 million, I'd also donate $1 million." You just believed lashon hara. You believe lashon hara. So it's very important that as soon as somebody says something in the name of somebody else, you say, "Oh, hold on a second, do me a favor. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Why? I don't want to be part of the lashon hara. I'm just not interested." The best rule of thumb is do your best to avoid talking about specific people. You could talk about things, but don't talk about specific people. Don't talk about specific people. You could even give examples. Listen, there's a person I heard about. He was in some business and he made $5 million and he took 20% of his money and donated it. That has the same value as saying that Steve made $5 million and donated $1 million. Now, of course, saying Steve did it and you both know Steve and Steve happens to live down the street is a much juicier statement. But it's forbidden. It's forbidden. It's forbidden to say and it's forbidden to believe. So it's important for a person to avoid talking about people. Also, if somebody says, "Listen, I heard this guy is did such and such bad thing," you're not allowed. Like you're saying, "Okay, I heard this guy called you a toot. That's the most common. Most common lashon hara is when your so-called friend tells you that somebody else that also is your friend said some nice things about you. Sarcastic. Said he called you A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and he came up with enough curses to fit every alphabet and every thing. And he is your true friend. He's coming to you and telling you about it. You are forbidden from believing this person. You're forbidden from believing this person, and in fact, you're foolish if you believe this person. Why? Because the reality is, believing him is believing lashon hara. That's number one. Number two, why would you believe a sinner about somebody else that he is accusing of sinning? Usually, the sinner, is always accuses everybody else of being sinners. That's the reality. He always wants to cancel everybody else. But the Gemara says, person that cancels other people, he himself is canceled. So if he comes to you and pretends to be your friend, says that, "Listen, this guy called you all these different names, it's something personal," you're not allowed to believe him. Not allowed to believe him. Now, you can verify it. You can ask Steve if he said such and such. You can pick up the phone, go meet him. "Listen, Steve, I heard that you said A, B, C, D, E, F, G about me. Is this true?" And if Steve obviously says it's true, then you can say, "Okay, so what he said is true. It's no longer lashon hara. The guy admitted it to yourself." But until then, you're not allowed to believe it. And by believing it, it means that you can't go and dislike or go against Steve that supposedly said something about you until you verify it. So if, let's say, for example, somebody said something, says to you, "Steve said ABC about you," and that, if he really did say those things, that would cause you to fire him if he works for you. That would cause you to not want to be his friend. That would cause you to disassociate with him. You're not allowed to do any of those things until you verify. Until you verify. Now if you say, "No, I don't want to be in an altercation, let me just disconnect," not allowed. Why? That's taking revenge. That's taking revenge, and that's wrong. You have to go verify. Go and verify. So you either completely don't believe and disregard everything that was told to you as if it wasn't told, as if it was deleted from your mind, or go and verify, see if he said it. If he said it, then you can do whatever it is that you want to do that's appropriate. But to simply believe what this sinner told you about somebody else is a crime, and it's foolish because he is the sinner telling you about somebody else's sinner. He's not a reliable witness. He's not a reliable witness. So it's important to know. Next question, Bill. Is a thief allowed to come to the victim and ask for forgiveness without paying back the stolen money? If the thief goes to pay back stolen money, but the victim tells the thief that they don't need to pay the money back, does the thief have to insist? If the victim continues to refuse the money, does the thief have an obligation to give the money back to charity? Sorry for asking so many questions at once. Thank you, Rabbi. Okay, so a person that stole money is not forgiven until he returns the money. He cannot say, I'm sorry, and that would be enough. He has to return the money. He has to return the money. Now, if he has, and he comes to the guy, he says, listen, I'm going to pay, I stole $50 from you, $50,000 from you, and I'm going to pay you back. I either have the money right now, or I have part of the money and I'll pay you the rest. And the guy says to you, no, you don't need to pay me back. Machulecha, machulecha, machulecha. I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. Then you're forgiven. No problem. You can move on with your life. You can move on with your life. But you have to have him do it. Don't say, hey, listen, I can't pay you back, but maybe you could just... No. Tell him, I'm going to pay you back. I owe you 50,000. Here's 1,000. Here's 2,000. Here's 5,000. And I'll pay you every so often. I'll pay you the money. Fine. But if he says, no, you don't have to pay me back. Fine. It's like he just gave you a gift. Just gave you a gift. But if, let's say, for example, you stole the money and the guy that you stole it from died or disappeared off the face of the earth, and after a lot of effort, you can't find him. What do? You have to give that money that you stole from him to charity, to a public cause that could potentially affect him, whether it's publicizing the Torah, that could potentially affect him, or it's something that is connected to him. So let's say, for example, if he lives in the city of New York, and maybe you could invest into some type of public cause there, homeless shelter, or some type of public water treatment, or whatever it is, it's a public cause. Obviously, the best is Torah, but nonetheless, you have to give the money that you stole to something that he could, as a public cause that he could potentially benefit from. But that's only if you cannot reach him because he either died or because you can't find him. He simply moved away. Nobody knows where he is. But I've had situations where people, identify that they had stolen money in their hands, know who the people are that they stole from, know exactly where those people live, and still tell me, listen, Rabbi, can I just give it to you as charity? Why? Why don't you just give it to them? No, if I give it to them, that means I need to admit that really they were right, and I did steal from them, and that's going to bring my family a lot of embarrassment, so I have to avoid it, and so on. So technically, the embarrassment is actually good for you, and that's really the ideal way to do tshuva for it. But even if you can't deal with that, then I told her, listen, just give it to her anonymously. Go, make sure you go, or send somebody to go to put money in a place where you know that for sure they're the only one that's going to get it right away, without putting your name on there, and they get the money. No, but maybe I could just give it to you as charity. I tell her, do me a favor, do not donate this money to me. Do not donate this money to our organization. Oh, why you like that, Rabbi? I'm not like that. I don't want stolen money. I don't want stolen money, Rabotai. And I've done that several times with people where they told me of some different, fugazi act that they're doing, that they're stealing in one way or another or whatever, and they think that I am going to solve their problem. No, it doesn't work that way. Yes, if you cannot pay this other person back because they don't exist anymore, or giving them back the money could put you in harm's way. Like, for example, if you stole from, you stole from the government. You know that if you tell the government that you stole money from them, they'll put you in jail for a nice 20, 30 years. So you can't really tell them. So yeah, you can take such money and you can donate to our organization or to other organizations that are doing good things. Sure, but as part of your tshuva, because you cannot technically put yourself in harm's way for the sake of returning the money. So that you can do. And that we've had people that have done that with us, where they couldn't return the money to certain entities, so therefore they would donate the money and so on. Fine. But if you know that you can't do it, but you just don't want to deal with it, don't send me stolen money. Don't send me stolen money. This is not Christianity. This is not Christianity where I'm going to tell you, listen, go throw a few Hail Marys and make sure not to fumble, and that's going to solve your problems. It's not going to be. It's not going to be. We want to be, Baruch Hashem, have siyata dishmaya in all of our Torah. We want it to be things to be as kosher as possibly can be. And sometimes we have to have make hard decisions that have to do with money, and even return money to certain people because of certain things. And Baruch Hashem, every time we've done it, we've had amazing results. Amazing results, Baruch Hashem. Nobody ever loses as a result of following what Hashem says. Next. Robert, as an Uber driver, how much should I be talking to my customers? Many people like to have conversation, but we have a limited amount of words to speak in our lifetime. Also, a man must not increase words with a woman. Should I try to avoid talking? Generally speaking, you're 100% right. Talking to women, for sure, you should not do. And even for men, wasting your words about nonsense is not exactly conducive to your life or even to your job. It doesn't matter that they prefer to talk. The key is what's good for you, but also what's good as for your business. So I've used Uber and other types of services throughout my whole life. I'm not exactly... I don't need somebody to talk to me. It's nice to have a conversation with some people sometimes, but generally speaking, people are too busy and they don't necessarily mind a little bit of quiet. But even if a person wants to talk, you don't necessarily need to do the talking. You could just sound like you're interested. Oh, really? And then let them talk for 5 hours. Oh, yeah? Okay, let them talk for another 3 hours. And that way, you're not, pushing them off. You're not being nasty to them. You're letting them talk. They want to talk, let them talk. They can talk themselves, but you don't necessarily need to join the conversation and start telling them about your wife and your kids and your husband and your dog and your cat and your uncle and how you found your friend from childhood. You don't need to do all that stuff. Let them do the talking. If that's what they want to do, they need to talk. Sometimes people need to talk to get rid of certain anxiety. It's a problem that some people have where they need to talk, and it's actually considered chesed. It's considered chesed to listen to them. It's considered chesed. There's a very famous story with Rav Moshe Feinstein, alav shalom, where one time he was obviously a very, very busy person. Aside from learning an enormous amount of Torah each and every day, he built Judaism in America. American Judaism does not understand how much it owes three major rabbis, which is the Klosenberger Rebbe, the Rav Moshe Feinstein is the two, and then you have the Rav Aaron Kotler. These are the three giants that built American Judaism. Surely there are others that have contributed immensely, but they were the ones that were really the pillars from the beginning. Now, he was very busy. He had a lot of learning, a lot of teaching, a lot of beddin, and so on and so forth. So, Chachamim in general are very precise about their schedule. One time, the Rav Moshe Feinstein told the people that were at the kollel, "Oh, come on, here's a little cake. We're going to do a siyum hashas." Siyum hashas. I mean, the Rav completed the shas countless times, but they saw that the Rav was much more excited about this shas. Much more excited about the shas. He says, "Rav, what's so special about this shas that the Rav is so celebrating? Rav must have completed the shas many times. Why is this one so special?" He says, "No, this one took me 20 years to do. 20 years to complete the shas. What did you learn? All of the mefarshim and the poskim and everything? No. I learned the shas like every other thing, but it took me 20. Why it took me 20 years? He says, because this is a shas I only learned when there was a little bit of time between changing the tefillin, putting on the tefillin, taking off the tefillin, and also anytime I was in the elevator, there's a little bit of time. It's 2 minutes here, 1 minute there, 3 minutes there. That's when I would learn it. Finish the Shas in 20 years. Rabotai Yekarim, if we finish the Shas in 20 years by reading it regularly, not in an elevator, regularly studying all day, that's already a ma'ala. Rav Moshe Feinstein was so precise with his time. He calculated every minute that he would finish an additional Shas on top of the countless other times that he finished it. And some people say he finished it over 400 times. Point is, how did he finish it 400 times? What, was he a speed reader? No, Rabotai. He took advantage of every single minute. While we're all chatting. Hey, how you doing? How's the wife? How's the kids? Where you going for vacation? All that nonsense. Gdolei Ador don't do it. They don't do it. But that doesn't mean that they're nasty to people. Rav Moshe Feinstein, alav shalom, one time was had to go to an important meeting. Was about to get into a car, but a very poor man came to the Rav. Kvod Rav, please. Now, usually, the Rav would have to go, and the guy that was taking him, the rabbi's helper, said, I'm sorry, the rabbi's busy. Rav Moshe Feinstein said, no, yes. He stopped. He said, yes. Now, the driver knew that they had a schedule to meet. The Rav is very busy, but the Rav said, no, okay, quiet. And then the poor guy, gets $1 from Rav Moshe Feinstein, or whatever amount of money that he got, whatever he had in his pocket, a few dollars, whatever it was. But as he gives him the money, the guy starts pouring his heart out to Rav Moshe Feinstein. And I used to do this, and with this, and this, and this. And the Rav, and the helper is looking at this, like, listen, you got the money, you got the Rav's attention. Yalla, chalas, go, shoo away already. That's what he's thinking. He's thinking, there's a mitzvah here to do it, to help the Rav. Rabbi says, shh, no, let him talk. And he talks to him for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. People that would come, see him sometimes wouldn't get that much time. This poor man got 10 minutes of his time. And he kept talking about all of his life's problems and how he had this and how misfortune and Hashem Yishmo, all these tzarot, all of these problems. And Rav Moshe Feinstein is there listening attentively to every word that he says. Every word that he says. After 10 minutes, he says, thank you, I'm sorry, I'm in a hurry, I have to go, but I really appreciate we could talk in the future and so on. And the guy was so happy. He took the tzedakah that he got from the Rav, and he had a smile on his face, like, that's it, that's all I need in life. Rav went inside the car, they started going, and of course, the people that are there with them, the helpers that are there, it's like, Kvod Rav, lamdeni, teach us. Why did you spend so much time with this, not exactly, he says, my tzedakah wasn't the money. My tzedakah was the chesed of giving him my time. That was my tzedakah. That's what he needed. He didn't need the money. He didn't come to me for the money. He came to me for those 10 minutes. That's what my tzedakah was. Sometimes, Rabotai, listening to somebody talk, that's the chesed you need to give. But don't go out there and take this advice to the extreme and just talk to everybody that wants to talk to you and waste your entire life. No. You have to obviously be very careful, very precise. But the point being is, in your particular profession, let them do the talking. You could just hum, nod, yes, wow, thank you, wow, yalla, go. That's what you should do, and they don't necessarily get involved. Next, Robert, can you go a little bit into the halacha of Gezel? We went and just talked about it for an hour. Let me see. Charlie, can you explain the second half of the prayer of Nasi regarding sacred birds and holy sparks? I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Wow, it's 2 already today. Shem Shmo. Sorry, I don't understand. Okay. Bill, is a person allowed to make a declaration that they forgive everyone who has wronged them in any way, stealing Lashon Hara, just as a sort of catch all in case someone once wrong with me, but I forgot about it. If you want to do that, you have to do that privately, not publicly. Do it privately, and you could write a list of all the different people that have hurt you, stole from you, hurt you, whatever it is. Write a list, and then look at the name and think about what happened and say, I forgive this person, machulecha, 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 pray for them, and then move on to the next name and the next name, but actually think about what actually happened and forgive them wholeheartedly. Not just say blindly like some superheroes do that want to pretend like they're tzaddikim and they make a Facebook post, I forgive everyone. I don't have any hard feelings against anyone. 3 seconds later, somebody cuts them off like, all the curses in the world comes. Why? This is ego. Ego. People make public statements about they forgive everyone, they love everyone. They just want everyone to think that they're tzaddikim. Don't do stuff like that. You want to forgive everyone for stealing from you, from saying bad things about you? No problem. That's a very good thing to do, very praiseworthy, only if it's legit and you do it privately. Nobody knows. Nobody knows about it except you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You write the names down, you pray for each and every single one of them, say, I forgive you. After you think about what they've done to you and you forgive them wholeheartedly, then you have yourself a very, very serious act that's praiseworthy. But if you do anything else that's publicizing it to the whole world, that you don't feel bad and everyone is great and no matter what they did to you, that's nonsense. That's all ego, and that's not going to get you anywhere. So make sure you do it right. I'm not saying that you're doing the wrong thing. I've just seen the wrong thing done so many times, and it's usually a couple of times a year during the Yamim Noraim, right before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, where there's a massive text message forwarding campaign that's done, where everybody sends everybody some blanket statement that they most likely didn't even write themselves, of how they are sorry for all the things they did to you and they hope you forgive them, and they just send you a text and they think that qualifies as an apology. Not only is it not an apology, it's chutzpah. It's chutzpah. You want somebody to forgive you, you did something wrong to them, go call them or meet them and say, I'm sorry. Don't send me a text message saying I'm sorry. The best thing is, sometimes people tell me, they send me this message, Rabbi, I'm really sorry. Ribono shel olam, what do they think of a prophet? What do they think of a prophet? They send me a text message. The only information that I have is I already have their name stored in my phone, so I know who they are. And that they say I'm sorry. And they think that this means something to me. Most of the time, I don't even respond. So I wait for them to give me some more information. The best is the people that just send hi, like they expect me to respond to them and start having a social conversation with them. I hate that. Don't send me a hi message. Do me a favor. Don't ask me how I am. You have a question? Ask the question. Don't ask me how I am. That's not a question. That's an opening for a conversation. Just tell me what you want. But worst thing is, somebody says, I'm sorry, Rabbi. They're waiting for me to ask them, or say, don't worry about it, blanket, or what did you do? I don't do that. Usually, I wait for them to tell me what they did, and the best thing is, I'm sorry, Rabbi, I said really bad things about you to all my friends, I disagreed with you, but really now I know that you're right, and you're saying the truth, but I said a lot of bad things to all my friends about you, but I hope you forgive me. Habibi, that's not an apology. That apology, you can take it and delete it. You could take that apology and throw it in the garbage. Why? It doesn't matter if I forgive you. I can forgive you until I'm blue in the face. It doesn't make a difference. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to forgive you. Why? You went against someone that teaches Torah to help people do tshuva. Now, those people, therefore, are not going to want to learn their Torah, and that could lead them to not do tshuva. You have a Kadosh Baruch Hu to deal with now. So how do you fix it with a Kadosh Baruch Hu? What, you think if you say I'm sorry to him, that's going to be enough? No, Habibi. What do you have to do? You have to go and call, meet every single person you said bad things about, because you're saying bad things about the Torah, not about me. Who cares about me? I'm a zero, less than zero. You said something about, what am I saying? I'm saying things in my opinion. I'm saying what Torah says. I'm saying Pirkei Avot. I'm saying Chumash. I'm saying Gemara. I'm saying Musar. I'm saying all Mishnayot. What am I saying? Halacha. What am I saying? You're saying you don't like it, and you're saying it that you have to go, talk to every single person, say, listen, I said this is nonsense, he's crazy, he's fanatic, he's this, I'm wrong. I'm wrong, everything he says is a med, whatever, whether it's about me or somebody else. That's an apology. You want to do that? Chazaku baruch. You don't do that. Yeah, no problem. As far as me forgive you, I forgive you automatically. You don't even have to tell I'm sorry. You don't even have to say I'm sorry for all the bad things you say about me. You don't have to say I'm sorry at all. Don't waste your time telling me I'm sorry, but it's the bad things you say about me. Don't waste your time. Number one, I already forgive you. I already forgive you. I care less. You could write a whole blog about me. I forgive you. Forgive you. Why? I feel bad for you. Why? Because the amount of damage that you brought on yourself by doing what you did, the last thing you want is for me to be upset about it. You already caused yourself so much trouble because of that. I feel bad for you. How much damage you brought to your life. So I forgive you. Forgive you automatically. Machulecha. Don't worry about it. Don't waste your time saying I'm sorry to me. Go fix it really with the other people. Go fix it really by writing different articles. Go fix it really by publicizing the real truth of what should be done. Don't waste your time telling me I'm sorry. Go say I'm sorry to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for desecrating His Torah and desecrating His name. That's what you should focus on. As far as me, I forgive you. I'm sorry that you even got to that point. That's what people don't understand. But many times people think that if they send a blanket text message to random people that, or their parents or their brothers, listen, I'm sorry if I did anything bad to you, I hope you forgive me, and I forgive you, and they think that's an apology. That's not an apology. It's not an apology. An apology requires effort. Yeah, but it's embarrassing. Okay, it's embarrassing. Good, it's embarrassing. Baruch Hashem, that's a real apology. If an apology is not embarrassing, it's not an apology. If you're not embarrassed while you're apologizing, you're not really apologizing. You're not really apologizing. Look at a little kid. Look at a little kid where you say, he did something wrong. Did something wrong to his sister. He did something wrong to his brother. You tell him, listen, say I'm sorry. Is that kid happy to do it? If it's a real apology, not happy to do it. Why? He's embarrassed. So what happens many times when a little kid says, I'm sorry? He starts crying. Oh, I'm sorry, I did it to you. Why? He's embarrassed. It's a natural thing. If you're not embarrassed, it's not really an apology. It's not really an apology. So, text message, nobody's crying over text messages. Nobody's crying over text messages. Don't make apologies over text message. It's a waste of time. Waste of time. It's just a false sense of righteousness. And it also stems from ego. Wells says, should I still give charity to random homeless people I see if there's a slight chance they might spend the money on drugs? Should one go out of their way to give money to homeless people they see if there's a chance they might be dangerous? No and no. Listen, it all depends on what you mean by money. If a homeless person comes to you and asks for charity, you can give them $1. It's not a problem. Give them $1 and walk away, and don't spend much time there because they could be dangerous. You don't have to put yourself in danger, and definitely do not go out of your way to give any homeless person or any person that could be dangerous, even if they're not homeless, charity. Do not put your life in harm's way. That is not a suggestion. That's not an advice from the Torah. It's not the right way to think. And in fact, you shouldn't even give them that much money. You should give them $1, $2. That's it. I mean, it all depends on your financial situation, but not much. Why? Because you don't know where the money is going to go, and it's best to focus on giving the real money that you have for the sake of the Torah. That's what you want to do. You want to publicize the Torah because it's not just about what you give; it's what fruits what you give ends up with. Because you could have an apple. Could have an apple, and that apple could be worth $1, or that apple could be worth $100,000. How could an apple turn from $1 to $100,000? Simple. If you take that apple, and right after you finish eating it, you take the seeds of that apple and you plant them. And you plant them, and you water them, and you plant them, and you water them, and you water them, and you water them, and you let the tree grow, and now you have an apple tree. You have an apple tree. That apple tree will give you apples for as long as it's alive. And that is going to generate you countless amount of money and food and so on and so forth. So now, when you give money to some homeless person, at the best case scenario, you have yourself an apple. That's the best case scenario. But when you give to the Torah, automatically it's a field of apples. If it's the right Torah, if it's the right place. If you're giving it for one of these, fake organizations that all they care about is money, and all they do is just spend money on themselves and their houses and the cars and all types of garbage that they have, then unfortunately it's better to give it even to the homeless person than to give it to those people. But if you give it to a legitimate Torah organization where they use that money to actually publicize Torah, to help people and so on and so forth, then you have yourself not only an apple tree, you have a field of apple tree. You have a lot of good, and that's what you should do. Now, unfortunately, because people have changed over the years, it's very important to know that people have become much more dangerous today than they were in the past. In the past, it was customary that people that are not from town would come to different communities, and each week, different people within the community would host them in their houses. Strangers, this rabbi came from a different town, this Jewish guy came from a different town, they're in town, and the community everybody would take turns to host these guests that are from out of town. It's not like they were invited by anybody, they were just simply stopping over and they had to stop traveling for Shabbat, so they stopped at that community and they would go to shul, and after shul, they would need to go somewhere to eat something for Shabbat. It wasn't like today where there's hotels everywhere and so on. So they had to eat somewhere for Shabbat. So what would the community do? Each week, a different family or a different group of families would host the guests that are from out of town. Why? Because that was the traditional way of doing things, and that was the way that things were done for since the beginning of time. Today, Rabotai, Rabbi Ovadia Alav Shalom says, you don't really do that anymore. Why? Because today, people have become much more dangerous. And it was after a story that happened that this changed, where there was a person that came into town that no one knew, but clearly looked like a very righteous person, a Torah scholar. And one couple that did not have any kids thought that if they host this person and help him, that maybe this would be a sgula for having children, for doing good things. Maybe HaShem would help them have a kid. And they hosted this person, and the person said, "Listen, I'm here from out of town. I need to be hosted for some time. If you could let me study here." And they said, "Sure, you'll have a room. And you could study as much as you want. You'll have breakfast and lunch at the same time, or dinner every day, and you could study as much as you want." And that's how it was. This person literally would enter the room in the morning, start learning, and would not leave, would not get out of the room, other than take the bowl of food to eat, and that's it. For months like this, few months like this. It got to the point where everybody's like, you guys won the lotto. You have one of the 36 hidden tzaddikim in your house. The guy doesn't leave the room. He's studying Torah all day, all night. Unbelievable. This guy maybe he's the Mashiach. Maybe he's this, maybe he's that. And people were amazed by it. And the couple themselves were very happy to do it. They were a very simple couple, very, very modest and very humble and so on. One day, Rabotai Yekrim, HaShem Yishmor V'Yatzil. HaShem Yishmor V'Yatzil. This is one of the stories that when I heard it, and even right now I'm telling it, I know it's Emet La'amita. This happened. And it's a disaster. A disaster, Rabotai. One day, Rabotai, the Baal, the husband, comes back from his work, and he sees that the room is open of the guy, and he's not there, and his bags are not there. And then he sees his wife crying. And he says, "Honey, what happened? What happened?" She says, "I'm sorry. He says, "What are you sorry? What happened? What happened?" She says, "I'm sorry." "And what happened? Why? Stop crying. What happened?" She says, "He's been here for several months and he's learning and this and that. And today when you went to work, this Rasha Merusha, Yimach Shimo V'Zichro, looked out and he came to me and he said to me, I've been here for several months and I've noticed that you pray and you're a good woman and so on, but you don't have any children in this house. And she said, yeah. He said, you know how I'm able to sit here? You know how I'm able to sit here and study for all these hours, for all these months? And she says, no, I don't know. And she's scared the first time he's talking to her in a few months. He says, because really, I'm Eliyahu Navi, he says to her. I'm Eliyahu Navi, and in order for me to bring the Mashiach, it has to come from you. It has to come from you. She says, okay, so you give me a bracha? She says, no. It has to come from you and me. And she says, I was so desperate, and I believed everything that he says, that Hashem Yishmor, she committed the act with him, Hashem Yishmor v'yatzil. And only after this pig, this filthy, disgusting excuse for a person completed the act, did she realize she made the mistake of her life. He is not only not Eliyahu Navi, he's not even the dust that Eliyahu Navi ever walked on, and all he will ever see from Eliyahu Navi is the command to destroy him for eternity in Gehenom. That's all he's going to see from Eliyahu Navi. But this Rasha Merusha was a sick person that made this crime, and it was obviously a planned crime. It was not in the heat. It wasn't a one-time thing. It was a planned crime, and he had such a sick mentality that he would pretend to be learning Torah for months at a time, with this being as the ultimate thing. And because of sick people like this, and unfortunately how easy it is sometimes to fool certain people, that Rav Ovadia says, you cannot host strangers in your house. You can't host strangers in your house. You have to know who they are. You have to have some type of reference, some type of history. Don't just pick up some stranger off the street and say, oh, come from my house and I'll host you, and think that you're doing a mitzvah. It's not good. It's too dangerous. You're putting your life or your family's life at risk. And there have been some stories where it's not just a destroyed marriage, but also other things. Worse, murder and so on. So you have to be very careful in today's world. But nonetheless, it's as far as to be kind to people, it's good to be kind, but that doesn't mean that you have to put yourself at risk. Don't put yourself at risk. Did Hashem create all of his own traits? That's a non-starter question, and the reason why is because that is a misunderstanding of Hashem. As a result of comparing Hashem to us. What does that mean? See, we as human beings, however smart or stupid, however good looking or ugly, tall, short, male, female, and so on, we are comprised of parts. We are comprised of parts, not just physically, where we have different organs and bones and things of that nature, but rather we are parts where our thoughts are separate from us. Our thoughts are separate from us. They're not one with us. And our memories are also separate from us. And the reality is that we don't necessarily need this body to have these thoughts and memories and so on. Whereas HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, our God is one. What does it mean our God is one? It means that Hashem, he is one. He does not have parts. And by not having parts, that means that his past, present, future, his thoughts, all of that are one. There is no Hashem being separate from his thoughts or traits or so on. There are different aspects of Hashem where in the Kabbalistic world there are different stages that you have 10 different kavanot and so on that you have in the Kabbalistic world, but those things are not different parts of Hashem, chas v'shalom. That would make it idolatry. The traits of Hashem are not separate from each other. They're in essence all different facets of the same Hashem. He's not separate. His thoughts are one with him. What does that mean? That actually is one of the most extraordinary things that I've learned, and maybe Zat Hashem, maybe I would fully understand it one day, and maybe you guys would as well, is that the difference between us and Hashem, where Hashem said, let us create man in our image. Let us create man in our image. So it's obviously not man in our image where we look like Hashem, because Hashem doesn't have a body. He has no body, he has no likeness of a body, and so on. But rather, he created us like him, where we have the ability to know the difference between right and wrong. But more so, we have the ability to create. We have the ability to create. How do we create? Now, most people think, when they think creating, they think maybe they're a YouTuber. They're called creators today. If you're a YouTuber, you're a creator. That's not a creator. That's an innovator, perhaps, but not a creator. A creator is someone that makes something out of nothing. And Hashem is the one that makes something out of nothing, but he says he created us in his image. So how could we create something out of nothing? In fact, we do that on a regular basis. We do that on a regular basis with our thoughts. Most people do not value their thoughts. They don't think that their thoughts have such a value or and so on. But the reality is that every single time that you think something, every time there's something that happens. Something is created in the world. Every single time. That's where the Gemara in Masechet Yoma, page 26a, and also 86, I believe, but mainly 26 or 83, says the thoughts of sin are worse than a sin. The thoughts of sin are worse than a sin, meaning that the sin is the sin itself is limited to physicality. The thought is not limited, but even further, the thoughts of sin is a crime only against Hashem, whereas the act of sin is a complete disregard to Hashem and to everybody else. How is that so? When somebody, let's say, for example, does Gezel, when they rob somebody in broad daylight, that means that person cares less about God and cares less about man. But when somebody steals at night and we're behind everybody's back, that means that he only cares less about Hashem. Hence the reason why the punishment is more severe for such a person in some cases, and because that's a person that completely disregards Hashem. Now the Ma'alchu, Rabbi Chaim Vital, brings that when a person actually truly understands his thoughts, he would be scared to think about certain things, because he would understand that when a person thinks, he is creating certain things in the upper worlds. Those thoughts are going to the highest level of the world. It could be even, and that place, that thought is going into the holy of holies. Now, if a person is thinking something holy, he's thinking Torah thoughts and so on, he is building. But if he's thinking immorality, if he's angry, he is destroying, and in essence, he is bringing a prostitute to the Kodesh Kodashim of heaven. So much so that he writes that Titus, who brought a prostitute into the second Bet HaMikdash and made the filthy act on top of a Sefer Torah, inside a Sefer Torah scroll, inside the Kodesh Kodashim of the Bet HaMikdash. Now, we, as human beings, think that's the worst possible thing you could ever do. Worst desecration of Hashem's name that a person could ever do. Right? Technically wrong. Why? The Sefer Nefesh Chaim by Rabbi Chaim Volozhin in Shar Aleph, Perek Dalet, says, a wise person will understand to have his heart in constant fright and trembling when he pays attention to the actions that are not good, and therefore can damage the upper worlds, and the words and thoughts that he has can lead to even more destruction than what Nebuchadnezzar and Titus made when destroying the Bet HaMikdash. And he gives the details of what Titus did, as I just mentioned. And the moment a person desires to think a forbidden thought of immorality, may the Merciful One save us, he thinks of immorality in his head. He is then bringing a prostitute to the place of Kodesh Kodashim, of the awesome upper world, because the mind is the altar of the thoughts, and there is the place of the neshama. And in the holy upper worlds, when he lets in that thought of immorality, he is letting in the powers of impurity into the holy places in the upper worlds, and increases the powers of impurity of the Sitra Achra inside the upper Kodesh Kodashim, causing much more damage than the impurity brought by the acts of Titus bringing a prostitute into the Kodesh Kodashim of the lower worlds. And such is each sin that a person allows into their heart is like a foreign fire, such as anger or the rest of inappropriate desires. May the Merciful One save us. Meaning that one who's angry, that's a sin that's in his head. He's angry in his head. Because it's in his head, it's in his mind, he causes more damage than Titus caused with his filthy act, because the anger in his mind is in his mind, and therefore it's damaging the Holy of Holies of the upper worlds. So, on this it is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 64, verse 10, the temple of our holiness and our splendor, where our fathers praised you, has become a fiery conflagration, and all that we have desired has become ruin. Bet kodshenu v'tifartenu asher alelucha avotenu aya lesrefat esh v'kol machamdenu aya lechirva. That, Rabotai, is what happens to the mind when a person allows inappropriate thoughts. And people don't really understand the magnitude of their thoughts, where you think that something is actually being created as a result of your thoughts. And that's why, if a person really truly understood and would learn how to control their thoughts, they could literally turn into something that's as holy as the Holy of Holies, like an angel among men. And that's where the story that I told you yesterday about the Magid Mesharim with Rabbi Yosef Karo. So the point of why I'm saying this whole introduction of this particular issue is that when we think, something is created. When we think, something is created, which means that the thought is the highest part of spirituality, and something is created. But the difference between us, one of the endless differences between us and HaShem, He created us in His image. But when we think of something, something is created, but we don't see it. HaShem, on the other hand, when he thinks of something, since that thought is not separate from Him, that means that as soon as HaShem thinks of it, it happens. It's an instant. It's not like HaShem thought, planned out, wrote it on a little book, and then no. The second that HaShem has the thought, it's in essence at the same time as the act. The creation of the thought is no different than the creation of the actual outcome of the thought. While to us, it's a step process that we don't actually get to see most of the time, to Hashem, it's a constant reality. So therefore, His traits are not separate from Him, and nothing else is separate from Him. In fact, that is the reason why the Pasuk says, En od milvado, that there's nothing else but Him. And the Zohar Kadosh comments on it, meaning that there literally is nothing else but Him. Everything in the world, including you and I and everything else that's in the universe, is all HaShem. Is all HaShem. It's not. There is nothing else other than Him. So He's not separate from His thoughts or from anything else for that matter. We'll take since it was a long question, short question, long answer. We'll take on maybe another one or two questions. Are dress standards for Noahide women the same as for Jewish women, or do they have more leniency, able to show elbows, for example? Well, women in general should be modest, whether they are Jews or Gentiles. It's not necessarily, it doesn't really make a difference. They should be modest for several reasons. Number one, it's more respectable of being somebody that was created by Hashem, but also recognizes that they were created by Hashem and recognizes that Hashem is watching. So if you were walking around next to the king, you would not be walking around with a bathing suit. Let's just say that. Whether you're Jew or Gentile is irrelevant. The second thing is that you also have to understand that you don't live alone in the world. And women that dress immodestly end up, they're doing it because they're looking to attract attention. That's why they're doing it. Less clothes does not make a person less hot. It doesn't. The material is what makes a person less or more hot. But whether you wear long sleeves or short sleeves doesn't necessarily change whether a person's hot or not. In fact, throughout all of time, the world, whether Jew or Gentile, used to wear long sleeve everything. And in fact, Am Yisrael was in the desert for 40 years, not only with long sleeves, but with turbans and scarves and everything else. And until this day, people that live in the desert wear complete outfits with turban, with scarves, with their whole body scarf. Why? Because it's not the clothing that's making you being short sleeve or long sleeve that's making you hot or not hot. It's the material. So a person should know that Hashem is the one that created them, and they should know that when they are exposing themselves, they're only doing it for one reason, which is to attract the attention of others, and it's not the positive attention, but rather a lustuous attention. And that lustuous attention is causing other people to sin, and Hashem has to not necessarily take revenge of those people because He likes to take revenge, but every cause has an effect, meaning that Hashem runs the world with a measure for measure. When you cause other men that are married to somebody else or are supposed to be married to somebody else to not necessarily want to stay married to that somebody else because they're thinking about you or somebody like you as a result of seeing your immodesty, or they're thinking about the deficiencies of the person that they're with after they see your beauty, then Hashem has to act in measure for measure, whereby just like you caused marriage problems, He will give you marriage problems. And if you don't have a husband to have marriage problems with, it is very likely you also won't have a husband to have marriage problems with because of that reason. And if you do happen to find a husband that wants to marry you, then I'll give you the marriage problems. Why? Because you caused marriage problems because of your immodesty and immorality, and therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to give it to you in return, especially if He likes you, because He wants to give you the suffering in this world. If He doesn't like you, He won't punish you at all in this world, and He'll leave it all for Olam Haba, where you'll go for eternity if all of it is reserved for that place. But the point being is that a woman should be modest at all time and not dress in any way that is attracting the people's attention in a lustuous way. And if she wants to play stupid and say, no, I'm just wearing short sleeves because I'm hot and all that stuff, okay, you could play stupid all you want. In Shamayim, they know the secret and they know it's all bogus. You're only walking around like that because you're looking to get attention, and the fact that you don't no longer care about that attention because whatever happened, doesn't mean that it's okay. You started off that way, where you started off wearing no sleeves because you were looking for attention. You started off wearing shorter skirts and tighter skirts because you were looking for attention. Or better yet, you were lying to yourself by wearing the longer skirts that were as tight as the Nazis were on us. These people, these women that wear these tight skirts or these pencil skirts that they think that that's modesty, or they think that that's allowed. Anyone that's wearing these tight skirts has to understand it's called a pencil skirt because you're writing yourself your own sentence in Gehenom. That's what it's called, a pencil skirt. There's nothing modest about it. It's actually better off to wear loose pants that are like a sack than to wear those tight pencil skirts. But if you think that that's going to get you to heaven, you're sadly mistaken. Sadly mistaken. A woman has to be modest. That's a reality. Why? Number one, it's an acknowledgement that God runs the world and He's the one that created you. Number two, it's because you're not in a vacuum. You're not alone. You are affecting other people. And the only reason to walk around in such a way is because you're looking to attract attention, illustrious attention. And I'm specifically talking about the Western society places, and not if you, let's say, live in a jungle and there are people there that are walking around with underwear. I'll be surprised if you're watching my lecture, but nonetheless, if you live in Western society, the reason why you're exposing your body is for bad reasons. It's not for good reasons, and it's definitely not for the weather. And even if it is for the weather today, it wasn't for the weather when it originally started. So, the point being is, people need to be modest, whether Jews or Gentiles. Next question, Jimmy. How important is it for women to understand that a husband must learn Torah? Why? Well, if we learn Torah, then we will learn not only how to be righteous Jews, not only to learn about our God, but we will learn what is different between us and animals. That's the difference. That's what. Why? Because animals operate based on their instinct. If they want something, they go after it. That's how animals work. Animals function based on instinct. Based on their desires. They're hungry, they go hunt. Doesn't matter that they're tired. If they're hungry more than they're tired, they get the energy and they go kill somebody. Why? Because they're hungry. Now what about the fact that that zebra they're about to kill has a family, has kids, was planning on going on vacation next month? Doesn't make a difference. Lion's hungry, he goes and he kills the zebra. Does not care about the fact that this zebra was a really nice guy and is kind of funny too. That'll make a difference. Why? He has instinct and that's how he operates. Most people in the world operate very similar to animals. They simply are there to fulfill their desires. That's all they're there for. They're there to wake up. They go work in order to make money, in order to get the pride that they want, the intimacy that they want, the food that they want, to fulfill their desires. If they didn't have to work and they could just skip all of that work and effort and get straight to the desire, that's what they would do, which would in essence eliminate any difference between them and the lions and the zebras. Which means the only thing that can restrain a person from acting purely based on their desires is the teachings of the Torah. Why? Because the Torah's number one objective is to teach you how to control and why to control your desires. Because quite frankly, without the Torah, there is no reason for you to control your desires. If it wasn't illegal, people would kill each other left and right just to get to their stuff. People would kill each other. If you knew that your next door neighbor has $500 million and you have a blue-collar job, you're barely making $500 a week, and your next door neighbor has $500 million. And you know that if you kill him, you're going to get all that money without any question, and you're not going to go and go to jail, and no one's going to care. What are you going to do? You're going to go kill that guy in 2 seconds. Why? I want the money. I want the results. That's why should I continue working for $500? I'll just do this one quick little job and send this guy to heaven a little quicker. What stops you? What stops you? Now, you can't say the law because I said it's legal, right? It's legal. We're playing a hypothetical example. What's going to stop a person? The Torah. Why? The Torah tells you that even if the law of the land allows you to kill, you're still forbidden. Even if the law of the land allows you to commit adultery, you're still forbidden. Even if the law of the land allows you to steal, you're still forbidden. So in essence, the Torah is the only thing that teaches us how to control our desires and why to control our desires. And the reason why is because God said so. God is the only one that can determine what is good and what is bad. Man cannot determine it. So if a woman wants to marry an animal, she could go to a nightclub, she can go to a zoo, or she could marry a person that doesn't learn Torah. All will be the same. If she wants to marry a human, a person that knows how to control themselves, then she has to make sure she marries a person that's learning Torah, not just before marriage, but every single day. Why? Because if you don't learn Torah every single day, you will not know how to apply it to your life every single day, which means that eventually you'll go back to becoming an animal that you began as. So if a woman wants a happy marriage where she actually has a husband that's a human being and not an animal, then she should send him to learn Torah as much as possible. And don't think for a second she's absolved from it. She herself needs to also learn Torah every day. Not as much as the husband, but she also needs to learn Torah because she needs to know what to do, how to do, why to do, and so on and so forth. She has to learn Musar every day. She has to learn the laws of modesty. She has to learn the laws of Shabbat, of holidays, and so on and so forth. She has to learn a lot of Torah every single day. Why? Because she has to know, why should I control my desires? I have a person that is in a constant issue with a bunch of anti-Semites in a legal issue, and asked me my advice about something, because these anti-Semites, they unfortunately sometimes have a lot of control, a lot of money, a lot of power in the secular world. And one of the arguments that they're using against this person is saying that this person loves God, loves her God more than she loves her children. Loves her God more than she loves her children, and therefore that makes her bad. That because she's different. Now, first and foremost, she's not different. There are literally billions of people that are in the world that worship a God. Many of them worship the God of Israel, but unfortunately many of them are worshiping false gods. But nonetheless, those people are willing to die for that God, and willing to kill their kids and so on. So this is really not so different, not now and not in the past. But nonetheless, the God of Israel is unique. Why? Because the God of Israel is not only someone that is expecting you and obligating you to love him, but in fact is also obligating you to love your children that you brought into the world. And when a person understands what this means, that means that unlike what the people think is that I love God more than I love my children and that makes me bad, what you don't understand is that my Torah actually obligates me, not that it's just good, not that it's suggested, but obligates me to acts of love towards my children by feeding them, clothing them, bathing them, and taking care of them because they're my responsibility. My Torah obligates me to do those acts of love towards my kids, whether I like them or not. And because of my love for HaShem, I have to do it. So the reality is, it's not that I love God more than I love my children, but rather the only legitimate reason I have to love my children that's beyond anything emotional is my love for God, because that's what obligates me to love my kids. That's what obligates me. Surely, the fact that they're cute and smart and this and that, that's all cute. But if you don't have that, if they're not cute, if each one is like Saba Geppetto, one here, one there, and they're not exactly smart, you ask them 1 + 1, they say, C. Then they're not exactly geniuses. And you ask them to come give me a kiss, they go kiss the wall. You don't have one of those kids. Are you obligated to love them? Are you obligated to feed them? Are you obligated to bathe them? Are you obligated to teach them Torah? Spend time with them to make sure that they know what to do? Yes. Why? Not because you love them. Because you love HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that's what a person has to understand. The Torah is what makes us Adam. Adam, what's Adam? Adam is higher than human. Adam is someone that is a person that's able to speak and is serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what Adam is. And when a person does that, person is a big success. And when a person doesn't, unfortunately, he's no different than an animal. So, like I said, as far as if a woman understood what she will have if she does not have a husband learn Torah, then she would not only want her husband to go learn Torah, she would beg him to learn Torah. And if she doesn't understand still, simply look at the statistics of divorce rates. Over 80% of marriages end up in divorce. Over 80% of marriages end up in divorce in Western society. But if you look at the average kollel that has Talmidei Chachamim in Yerushalayim, in Bnei Brak, in Monsey, in Lakewood, all these different places that have kollels, have avrachim, have tzaddikim learning Torah, divorce is only something they learn about because it's part of the Gemara, Masechet Gitin. It's not part of the day-to-day. Why? Well, it has nothing to do with us. Sure, it happens from time to time, but the more somebody's glued to the Torah, the more they honor their wife like she's a princess, like a queen. The more somebody learns Torah, the more the wife honors the husband. There is no reason to divorce. Why? Torah makes you love each other more than ever. Makes you celebrate each and every single month on mikveh night. Celebrate like it's a celebration of all celebrations. Like you just won the lotto 500 times. Mikveh night, greatest day of the world. What, every month? Yes, every month. Every month. Why? That's what the Torah teaches. A woman that understands what the Torah teaches would beg her husband to go learn Torah. Beg. When a person understands what the Torah does, that's all they want. But that's the problem. Many people don't know, and therefore they think, no, he's learning Torah, so he's spending less time with me. All you got to do is look at Western society, and you see that they spend all day with each other. In fact, they spend so much time with each other, they forget that they're not husband and wife, even though they act like husband and wife. And they move in together, and they move out together, and they have a few this and a few that, and they do this and they do that, and they spend all day and night together until they leave each other, and they say, I hate you, and they say, I loathe you, and they want to kill each other, and they talk bad about each other, and they curse each other. Why? But just 2 days ago, you loved each other, you acted like you were husband and wife. What happened? Nah, she's up, all the curses in the world. How could it be? You spent so much time together. You went on vacations together. You bought each other presents. How? It was all lust. That's it. Nothing to do with HaShem. Nothing to do with HaShem. It was all lust. It was all meeting a physical need, no different than a horse. No different than a lion. Why? That's the world. A world without Torah is a world of animals. A world with Torah is a world that is eternal. Is a world that is something that is worth existing in the world. And that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to the prophet Jeremiah, Im lo briti yomam v'layla chukot shamayim va'aretz lo samti. If not for my covenant, day and night, the rules of the world will cease to exist. If not for the Torah, the world has no right to exist, Rabotai. Why? HaShem is not looking for a world full of animals. The animals were created in order to serve HaShem's people. That's what the animals were created for. To serve HaShem's people. Now, if HaShem's people want to turn into animals, there's no point for the other animals. Why? There's no reason to have both. You have to pick one. And if Hashem has to pick one, he'd pick the actual real animals, the lions and the zebras. Why? Because they're actually better at being animals than human beings are. Go try racing a zebra. See who's going to win. Go try out hunting a lion. See who's going to win. Go try to outmaneuver any one of the animals in it. No one. You're not going to outmaneuver anybody. Go try to fly. You can't. Why? Because you're not as good as being an animal. Unfortunately, people act like animals. Why? Because they don't have Torah. So when a person knows what Torah is, they would literally beg their spouse to learn it and even invite them to learn together. But nonetheless, there is a need for a couple to learn a little bit together, but the husband also needs to learn alone the majority of his learning because he has a bigger obligation. Okay, one more question. How does the person that the Lashon Hara also get punished when at the same time, if they are embarrassed by all of his sins, can be wiped out? Am I misunderstanding? No, punished in the sense that, first off, you're right. When a person says Lashon Hara about somebody, then the person that's being said about gets all of their mitzvot. But the Gemara says in Masechet Moed Katan that they're not saying these bad things about you or these things about you for no reason. This really has more to do not with Lashon Hara but with Rechilut. Rechilut is what Motzi Shemra, when you say gossip about somebody. And people are not going to invent gossip about you for no reason. There's usually a little bit of truth in it. So that's in essence the problem. It's a little bit different than Lashon Hara. It's like a brainchild of the same thing. That's what I was referring to. Thanks for correction. Leah Levatan, Shulchan Aruch says one should first sleep on his left side for the first half of the night and then switch to his right side for the second half of the night. However, what if one finds that almost every night when sleeping on his left, they experience strange or even perhaps scary dreams, but when sleeping on the right, he experiences nothing of this nature? In this case, is he allowed to sleep on his right side only, or is this a violation? It's a interesting question. Surely, if something is causing you harm, then there is that opens up certain rooms for leniency, especially in a case like this, because even if somebody starts off their night sleeping on their left, once they're asleep, most people lose control of their body. And they're going to end up moving anyway. So if let's say, for example, you have some type of, you're sleeping on your left causes you major pain, you have a certain thing, or if, like you said, it's causing you certain type of trauma, then yeah, you can make the change. Especially since the Shulchan Aruch itself says that you would make a change anyway. If you would go to sleep later, meaning if you're sleeping before the middle of the night, which at this point in Florida is somewhere around 1 o'clock in the morning. So if you go to sleep before the middle of the night, you'd start off on the left side. But if you go to sleep after the middle of the night, you go start on the right side. So the Shulchan Aruch is already telling you that there is room here for changes. Anyway, needless to say, if it's causing you harm. Jacob, I'm studying a Sefer Sha'ar Chofetz Chaim, and chapter 1 says that one of the reasons Am Yisrael was in Egypt so long was due to Lashon Hara. Do you have more examples? And Rav Alaba Shalom gave one example when Moshe was ratted out. Yeah, that's the primary example that when Moshe Rabbeinu saw that the Jew is being beat up by the Egyptian. He saw that the Jew is being beat up by the Egyptian, and the next day he saw that two Jews were fighting, and he stopped him. He said, "What? Don't hit him, you Rasha," because according to the Torah, as soon as you have your hand up in the air, you're already to hit another Jew without hitting him. As soon as you have a hand up in the air, you're considered wicked. So Moshe Rabbeinu told him, "You're wicked." And the person responded, "What are you going to do? What are you to tell us what to do? What are you going to do? Kill us like you killed the Egyptian?" And it says that Moshe Rabbeinu knew that the thing was known. How did he know the thing was known? How did this guy know? How did he know? Because the guy that told him, "What are you going to do? Kill us like the Egyptian?" was the only witness. Why? Because he was the guy that he was protecting. Meaning, the Tan v'Aviram were the two Reshaim that were fighting there. And the day before, one of them was being actually beat up by the Egyptian. He was being beat up by the Egyptian. Moshe Rabbeinu came and defended him, saved his life. And instead of being grateful to him, he went against him. Not right away, but only, initially he said, he liked it. He saved his life, right? But the next day, he was fighting with his brother-in-law. They were brother-in-laws. And as soon as Moshe Rabbeinu was rebuking him, automatically he became the enemy. This unfortunately happens till this day. This happens till this day, where you could help somebody do tshuva, you could help somebody convert, you could help somebody even get married. And the second you tell them something that they don't like, that's it, you turn into Amalek. And I've seen all of those things happen. I even had I don't deal with this on a regular basis, or even at all, really. I try to not do it, but sometimes I try to help. I don't know, maybe, I don't know if it's Yetzirah or Yetzirah Tov, but sometimes I try to help people for free with Shidduchim. If I have two students that are perhaps maybe could be a good match, I try to help them. And I don't like it, and I think I've said that before in the past, but nonetheless, I try to do it, and Baruch Hashem, we've succeeded a couple of times. But one time I actually had a couple that we made the shidduch. In so many words, we made the shidduch. So you figure, these people, one of them was looking for a shidduch for like, I don't know, 5 years or something like that. And the other one was also looking for a shidduch for, a while. And Baruch Hashem, we had the merit to find the shidduch, make the shidduch. They got married. So it's the best possible result, right? Guess what? A little while after, they completely disassociated with us. Why? They didn't like a little bit of rebuke that I said that was what was needed. Turn into the enemy. Turn into the enemy. And that's just the way it happens in life. That's just the way it happens in life. Same thing happened in other aspects, as I've told you in the past. Why? Because that's the way people are. If you don't have the midat emet, which is the trait of emet, which means you have to apply it to yourself on a regular basis, not just to other people. The second you get the emet on yourself, you're going to turn into an enemy. And I see this a lot with people that like to rebuke other people. People that like to rebuke other people, usually they themselves do not accept it. They themselves do not accept it. And I've seen it many times. People rebuke the wrong way. They see somebody putting a picture on the internet or saying something on the internet. Instead of approaching that person privately and saying, they go off on this person in comments and telling them change this, that. Like, you couldn't just go to the guy privately. Like, you had to like tear him up. Like, it couldn't be. Like, he's not like doing this on purpose. He's not a learned person. You can't like. But that's it, they tear him up. But as soon as you tell that person, why they say that it's all for the sake of HaShem, right? They're defending HaShem or whatever they're doing. The truth is, as soon as you do the same thing to them, where not even the awful way, you tell them privately, hey, by the way, I think you're doing the wrong thing here. That's it. They turn you into thing. And this all stems from ego. This all stems from ego. And as far as Am Yisrael is saying Lashon Hara, Am Yisrael unfortunately has said Lashon Hara for a while. And one of the other examples that you can see in the Torah itself during that time is with Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik was guilty of Lashon Hara against his brothers, where he told his father, Yaakov, that his brothers were acting inappropriately because he saw them talking to women, he saw them eating an animal that he believed was not kosher, and he didn't investigate exactly what they were doing. In fact, they were doing the right thing. They were doing the right thing. The animal was an animal that was inside the belly of already a slaughtered animal, which you don't have to slaughter that animal if it's inside the animal that you already slaughtered, because it's considered a part of his body part. Point being is, Yosef HaTzadik, even though he meant well, he made a mistake, and he said Lashon Hara about his brothers, and that's why he had to go into Egypt as a prisoner for all those years until the salvation came. So there is other examples, Baruch Hashem. There's another example with the serpent. The serpent was the first one to make a sin by saying Lashon Hara about Hashem. So that's another example of Lashon Hara. Okay, guys, I think it's enough questions for the night. I really do appreciate you learning with me. It was fantastic questions today. Give yourselves a round of applause for all the wonderful questions. I'm sure they're going to make very valuable learning for others. I enjoyed it for sure. And hopefully you did as well. B'ezrat Hashem, you all succeed for the rest of the week, to continue learning, to continue doing kiruv, to continue succeeding in all the good things that you do, especially succeed in doing tshuva day after day, night after night, Be'ezrat Hashem, and to help others do the same. Thank you again for learning with me, and have a exciting week, and we'll talk soon. Kol Tuv.
Seven years of lectures. Seven months of film editing. Countless hours of study by two rabbis. Information we received over 3,000 years ago. All for this moment. Tikkun HaBRIT, the movie.
There's a small member in your body. It shouldn't take over your whole life. If you satiate it, you're never going to have enough.
The Sofer clan, when it gets a hold of something, it does not let go.
Time for us to rectify what we have done.
Normal numbers should be somewhere around 20 million or higher.
You're never going to have control of it. If you start it, and only feed it when it's permissible according to the Torah.
Pornography is as addictive as crack cocaine.
You're always going to be happy, including this world and the next. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen.